The sun shines into the corridor of Green Shade High School, the air is filled with the smell of green grass and the fragrance of girls, and the noise of new students checking in comes like a tide. Ye Zhi lowered his head, carrying a worn school bag, holding the shoulder straps tightly with both hands, his knuckles turning white. He was a transfer student, a loser from that small county town. On the first day, he felt the eyes around him coming towards him like knives. "Hey, look at the new guy, he's dressed like a beggar, haha." At the end of the corridor, a group of boys burst into laughter. The basketball banged in their hands, making Ye Zhi's heart shrink from the impact. He gritted his teeth, his introverted personality leaving him without the courage to even raise his head. Luin High School is the focus of the city. The music club is famous for a while, and club activities are a stage for these rich kids to show off. What about him? A poor boy whose guitar strings are almost broken, his parents are divorced, music is just his secret to entertain himself while hiding under the covers. Who would look at him twice? The footsteps became more and more chaotic, and Ye Zhi quickened his pace. The song, "Mines in the Starry Sky," that he listened to over and over again last night echoed in his mind, the crooning of independent rock, as if he understood his loneliness. Suddenly, a figure flashed into view in front of him, making him stop suddenly. She stood by the window, the sunlight outlined her slender silhouette, the hem of her white school uniform swayed slightly, and the earphone cord hung on her chest, like a silver heartbeat vein. Ye Zhi, the goddess of the music club, is the secret fantasy in the hearts of all the boys in the school. Her long hair was flowing like a waterfall, her face was tilted slightly, her red lips were slightly parted, and she was humming the familiar melody, "Under the starry sky, my thoughts are like a flood." Her voice was as clear as a mountain spring, but with a hint of hidden sadness that made the air freeze. The girls passing by were whispering, and the boys' eyes were glued to her, but no one dared to come close. Ye Zhi's heart was beating fast, as if he was being shocked by electricity. Same song. His favorite song, he had never heard anyone hum it in this famous school. Opportunity? No, how can he be worthy of someone like him? Countless images flashed through my mind, the embarrassment of rejection, the whole school joke. But his footsteps didn't obey his orders and he slowly moved closer. Same song. When he spoke, his voice shook like a fallen leaf in the wind, and his face turned red to the roots of his ears. Ye Zhi turned her head, her almond-shaped eyes widened slightly, and the music from her headphones was still leaking softly. She was stunned for a moment, then a slight smile appeared on her lips. "Have you also listened to Starry Sky?" Not many people know this song. Her voice was like a song, with the fragrance of jasmine coming to her face, making Ye Zhi's head buzz with a blank sound. The passers-by around him stopped, and someone shouted, "That's Ye Zhi. The new guy is talking to her. How brave." A girl covered her mouth, her eyes widened. Who is he? The goddess of the music club didn't even show her face. Ye Zhi felt his throat was dry, so he mustered up his last courage and took out his headphones from his pocket. The cords were so old that they were frayed. "Can I share one side?" When he stretched out his hand, his palms were all sweaty, thinking, "It's over. If I get rejected, she will definitely think I'm abnormal." But Ye Zhi didn't hesitate. She took off her right earphone and handed it over. Her slender fingers touched his fingertips, and it was like electricity running through her body. "Okay, let's listen together." She smiled, her eyes curled into crescents, the two of them were very close, and the headphone cord drew an invisible bridge in the air. Music poured into his ears, the low guitar strummed, and the lyrics fell like starlight. "My thoughts are hidden in the night sky, waiting for someone who understands you." Ye Zhi couldn't help but glance at the side of her face, his eyelashes trembled slightly, and the pulse in her neck beat slightly. The campus bell rang in the distance, the sun sprinkled golden powder between them, and the surrounding air seemed to become sticky and full of ambiguous tension. The bridge of this song is great, right? That transition always reminds me of the fireworks on a summer night. Ye Zhi said softly, tilting her head slightly towards him, her hair brushing his shoulders, and the faint scent of shampoo penetrated her nose. Ye Zhi nodded and his voice finally became calmer. Yes, every time I listen to it, I feel, someone understands my loneliness. As soon as the words came out, he regretted it, it was too naked. But Ye Zhi's eyes lit up. Lonely? So you are like this too. It looks lively here, but in fact many people are lonely shadows. At that moment, sparks flew out. Their eyes met and time stood still. Whispers erupted around him. Oh my God, they are sharing headphones. Ye Zhi actually smiles so sweetly. A boy clenched his fists, his face livid. The newcomer is so lucky, isn't she? I've been chasing her for half a year and I haven't received this kind of treatment. At this moment, a burst of passionate shouts broke the atmosphere. Ye Chen. Buddy, you fell in love with the goddess of the music club on your first day? How awesome. Qin Feng strode over, his tall and hot-blooded figure blocking half of the sun. He was the best friend Ye Chen met in the dormitory last night, the lead singer of the band, with a guitar pendant hanging around his neck, and his body smelled of sweat mixed with the smell of tobacco. Qin Feng hooked Ye Chen's shoulders, his eyes widened like bells. Sister Zhi, my brother is a musical genius. The solo he played last night shocked my jaw off my head. Come join our band, the green stage is waiting for you to join forces. Ye Zhi chuckled, her earphones still connected to Ye Chen. Really? Then come to the music club to audition, we are short of guitarists. She took out a flyer from her school bag, with musical notes printed on the pink paper. When she handed it to Ye Chen, her fingers touched it again. Tomorrow at noon, the small theater behind the library. Are you coming? Ye Chen took the flyer, his hands were shaking so much, and his heart felt like it was going to explode. The goddess invites. But Qin Feng's enthusiasm wasn't over yet. He shouted, absolutely go. Ye Chen, this kid, is introverted on the surface, but he is the king of rock and roll in his heart. Suddenly a girl appeared next to her, Su Nuan, Ye Zhi's best friend, with lively short hair and blinking eyes. Wow, Ye Zhi, you're blushing. The new classmate is so handsome, sharing headphones is a great trick. Qin Feng, don't steal the limelight, this is the birth of pure love CP. She poked Ye Zhi's arm gossiping, and passers-by had already formed a small circle. The girls screamed, how romantic. The music club is going to make big news. Ye Chen's head was buzzing. Happiness came too suddenly. He looked down at the flyer and couldn't help but raise the corners of his mouth. But deep down, the inferiority complex still haunts me. Am I worthy? A transfer waste. In the afternoon class, Ye Chen sat in the back row, and his mind was filled with Ye Zhi's smile. Qin Feng whispered from the side, brother, seize the opportunity. The music club is the center of the campus, and Sister Zhi has taken a liking to you. Su Nuan also sent a note, come on, see you tomorrow. The music club's promotional song played on the campus radio, and the air was filled with anticipation. Finally, noon arrived on the day of the audition. There was a crowd of people at the entrance of the small theater, the sun cast dappled light and shadow through the leaves, and the sound of guitar strings buzzed and echoed. Ye Chen took a deep breath, opened the door, and held the flyer tightly in his hand. The lights inside were soft, and Ye Zhi stood in the center of the stage, playing the piano keys lightly and smiling brightly. Ye Chen is here. Su Nuan was the first to notice and screamed, look, everyone, the headphone CP is real. Qin Feng pushed him onto the stage, come on. Shock the whole audience. Ye Chen plucked the guitar strings with his fingers, his heart beating like a drum. With everyone's eyes blazing, he played the riff of My Heart in the Starry Sky, and the sound of the piano poured out like a river of stars, overwhelming all the noise. Ye Zhi's eyes lit up, and the ensemble kept up with her in perfect harmony. There was silence, then screaming. It's amazing. The new transfer student has become famous. A passerby boy murmured, he plays the piano harder than the president of the club. But before the climax lingered, the theater door was pushed open with a bang. A tall figure walked in, the basketball prince Jiang Chen, the ace of the school team, covered in sweat, his jersey clinging to his muscles, full of confidence. He looked directly at Ye Zhi and said in a loud voice, "Ye Zhi, I heard that the music club is auditioning, so I came here to help. By the way, I asked you to watch the football game tonight." The whole audience gasped, and Su Nuan's eyes widened. Jiang Chen is here. We're in big trouble now. Qin Feng clenched his fists, the love rival is on the line. Ye Chen, hold on. The air in the theater froze instantly, and the lingering sound of the guitar still trembled in the air, like frozen starlight. Jiang Chen's tall figure blocked the door, and the sunlight penetrated from behind him, lengthening his shadow like a giant beast rushing toward him. He shook off the beads of sweat on his forehead, and the jersey was wet and stuck to his chest muscles. The smell of hot sweat after exercise, mixed with the earthy smell of the playground, went straight to his nose. The eyes of all the club members widened, and some people gasped in a low voice, "Jiang Chen is here to rob someone, the new guy is doomed." A girl covered her mouth, her eyes flicked back and forth between Ye Chen and Jiang Chen, and a trembling voice leaked out, "The basketball prince versus the music loser, isn't the disparity too big?" Ye Zhi's smile froze, and her eyes flashed with embarrassment. Jiang Chen strode forward and glanced at Ye Chen as if looking at an ant, "New here? The music is good, but the court is a man's stage. Ye Zhi, choose me." Ye Chen's heart sank to the bottom, and everyone whispered, "Jiang Chen takes action, the transfer student is finished. Who will the goddess choose?" In the air, tension is like a bowstring. Ye Zhi's smile froze on her face, and a hint of displeasure flashed through her almond-shaped eyes. She gently pushed Jiang Chen's outstretched arm, her voice clear but firm, "Jiang Chen, thank you for coming. But the audition is over." She turned to the president of the club, a quiet girl wearing glasses, her eyes full of anticipation. The whole place was so quiet that you could hear your heartbeat. The president pushed up his glasses and his voice trembled slightly, "Ye Chen, your playing is simply perfect. Especially the transition of the bridge section and Ye Zhi's harmony, it's like a match made in heaven. Welcome to the music club." After saying this, Ye Zhi did a round of applause. The applause was as clear as beads falling on a jade plate, and then the whole place erupted. Club members widened their eyes and whispered, "The transfer student has joined the club. He played so hard that Jiang Chen's face turned green." The goddess applauded in person, "This is a solid CP." Jiang Chen's face was livid, and his fists were clenched until the veins popped out. He stared at Ye Chen, his voice was as low as a wild beast's roar, "Boy, is the music club yours? You'll see the truth on the court." But Ye Zhi didn't give him a chance. She took Ye Chen's arm, his hair brushed the back of his hand, bringing the fragrance of jasmine. "Ye Chen, come backstage and talk about your riff inspiration." Jiang Chen gritted his teeth, turned around and slammed the door. The loud bang of the door panel sent chills down everyone's spine. Su Nuan jumped up excitedly and hugged Ye Zhi. "Ye Zhi, you were so handsome just now. New classmate, the music club has you, the campus is going to explode." Qin Feng laughed and slapped Ye Chen on the back. On the first day of joining the club, the goddess personally welcomed him. "Jiang Chen, that stupid guy, is feeling deflated, right?" After the audition, the daily club life came like a tide, and the small practice room behind the library became Ye Chen's new world. The sun shines in through the gauze curtains, the hum of piano keys and guitar strings intertwine, and the ink fragrance of coffee and music scores floats in the air. Ye Zhi invited him to rehearse at noon every day. She sat in front of the piano, her slender fingers flying, and hummed the demo of the new song. "In this chorus, I want to add some starry sky imagery. Can you try a guitar solo?" Ye Chen nodded, plucked the strings with his fingers, and the old guitar made a low cry, perfectly embedded in her melody. Her eyes lit up like the stars lighting up in the night sky. "Ye Chen, how do you understand my thoughts? This riff simply understands my thoughts. Every time the ensemble ended, she would always come closer, and the headphone cable connected the two of them again, sharing the same remix version of Things in the Starry Sky. The hot air between her breaths brushed against the ears, making Ye Chen's heart beat wildly. Unwilling to be lonely, Qin Feng took Ye Chen to form a temporary band. Brothers, let's join Sister Zhi and go to the campus music festival. I'm the lead singer, you the guitar, and she's the keyboard. The three swords are invincible. During practice, the guitar pendant around his neck was dangling, sweat splattered, and his voice was hoarse and passionate. Ye Chen's solo made my skin crawl all over. Sister Zhi, do you think she is a genius? Su Nuan always sneaked in, carrying juice and gossiping. When you two were rehearsing, Ye Zhi blushed like an apple. Ye Chen seized the opportunity, sharing headphones is a godsend. She blinked and pushed Ye Zhi to sit closer. The air in the practice room was as ambiguous as melted sugar, and the sound of the piano was mixed with low laughter and heartbeats. The bell rang during recess, and Ye Chen was packing up his guitar. Ye Zhi suddenly appeared with 2 lunch boxes on the tray. The steam of the rice mixed with the aroma of egg-fried rice was tangy. Ye Chen, let's have lunch together. Share your music dreams. They sat on the bench outside the library, with dappled sunlight and the rustling of the leaves. She picked up a piece of chicken and handed it to his mouth. The natural movement made his face burn. When I was a child, my parents always quarreled, and I only had the piano to accompany me. When I played Things in the Starry Sky, I felt that the world had become quiet. How about you? Ye Chen swallowed the food and said in a low voice, My parents are divorced and I am hiding in a rental house in a small county. The guitar is my only outlet. Listening to this song, I feel like someone understands my loneliness. Ye Zhi. Her eyes were soft, and she reached out to touch the back of his hand, so we are the same. Ye Chen, your music makes me feel not alone anymore. Her fingers stayed for a moment, and the warmth came. The girls passing by widened their eyes and whispered, the goddess is feeding me. They are so sweet, Jiang Chen knows he will vomit blood. Qin Feng poked his head from a distance, gave a thumbs up, and Su Nuan sent a note, progress is going very fast, give me a kiss. Ye Chen's fingers were still on the guitar strings, his fingertips were cold, and his heart felt like it was clamped by iron vices. Jiang Chen's eyes swept over him, like he was crushing an insect. The music is good, kid. But what Ye Zhi needs is a man who can take her flying, not a shadow hiding in the corner playing the piano. He strode forward, the basketball spun in his hands, and hit the floor with a bang. The echo made everyone's eardrums buzz. Su Nuan grabbed Ye Zhi's sleeve and whispered urgently, Ye Zhi, talk. Jiang Chen, the arrogant man, is here again. Qin Feng clenched his fists and whispered in Ye Chen's ear, hold on, buddy. That riff just now shocked the whole audience, who is he? But the good times did not last long. On the playground that afternoon, the sun was burning like fire, and the bang of the basketball hitting the ground was like a war drum. Ye Chen finished the rehearsal and walked to the library wiping his sweat. When passing by the basketball court, his footsteps stopped suddenly. Jiang Chen was in the center of the court, his muscle lines shining in the sun. He made a fadeaway three-pointer, and the ball drew a perfect arc and hit the net with a swoosh. The cheerleaders in the audience screamed, Jiang Chen is invincible. The prince is so handsome. Sweat fell from his forehead, and his jersey was soaked, exuding a manly hormonal smell. He turned around and went straight to Ye Zhi on the sidelines. She was chatting with Su Nuan, still holding the pink music club flyer in her hand. The relationship grew closer like spring buds, and Ye Chen's inner emotions gradually poured out. During the rehearsal, he played a new riff and incorporated her inspiration. This paragraph represents the heartbeat of meeting you. Ye Zhi blushed and smiled, it's so romantic, let's write a school song together. The ambiguous atmosphere was so thick that it couldn't be resolved. Su Nuan was able to match up, and Qin Feng enthusiastically assisted. The members of the club looked at them from confusion to admiration. the new transfer student is not easy, his eyes are straight when he plays. Ye Zhi has never been so happy, who does Jiang Chen mean? Ye Chen hid behind the tree, watching it with piercing pain. The bouquet is so dazzling, Jiang Chen is so perfect, what about him? A poor boy who transferred to another school and only had worn-out old headphones and a guitar. Inferiority flooded him like a tide, and the sweetness of sharing headphones, the whispers of rehearsals, the tenderness of lunch flashed through his mind. Were they all a dream? The fingernails of his fists were embedded in the palm of his hand, and blood seeped out. He turned around and staggered away, with passers-by whispering in his ears, "Will Ye Zhi agree, right? The transfer student's little music can't compare to Jiang Chen's glory." Qin Feng saw it from a distance and caught up, "Ye Chen. Don't get me wrong, Sister Zhi will not choose him." But Ye Chen could no longer listen, his heart was broken like glass shards, the cheers on the playground were like ridicule, and the sun burned his back. Su Nuan stamped her feet anxiously and pulled Ye Zhi away. "Zhi, your eyes were clearly panicked just now. What about the transfer student? What should I do if he sees it?" Ye Zhi bit her lip and looked in the direction where Ye Chen disappeared, feeling confused. Jiang Chen stood up, still holding the bouquet in his hand, and a crack appeared on his face with confidence. The boys around him patted his shoulders. "Come on, Prince, she will be yours sooner or later." But in the air, the shadow of misunderstanding has quietly lengthened, and the sweetness of youth is facing the first crack. Ye Chen rushed back to the dormitory, smashed his guitar on the bed, and the crisp sound of broken strings echoed. He murmured, "Am I worthy? She will choose him." Outside the window, the campus bells were melodious, and night fell, waiting for the next explosion. The lights in the dormitory were as dim as candlelight. Ye Chen was curled up on the bed, with the old guitar lying across his chest. The broken string fragments were still stuck to his fingertips, which stung like needles. The night wind howled outside the window, mixed with the low reverberation of the campus bells, as if mocking his inferiority. Jiang Chen's rose bouquet on the playground flashed in his mind, the red color was dazzling, Ye Zhi's pale face and evasive eyes were like a knife cutting the heart. She will choose him. He murmured and smashed his fist against the wall. The muffled sound made dust fall from the wall, and the smell of mold and blood filled his nose. The door was suddenly kicked open with a bang, and Qin Feng broke in, sweating profusely, with the guitar pendant dangling from his neck, and the smell of hot blood hit his face. "Ye Chen. Why are you standing there stupidly? Sister Zhi rejected that stupid guy. Her eyes were panicked and she kept looking in your direction." Qin Feng grabbed him and his voice was as hoarse as a roar, "Misunderstanding. It's all a fucking misunderstanding. Tomorrow the music club will witness it, I will fight with you to fight back." At noon the next day, the entrance to the music club was crowded with people, the sun burned the asphalt road like fire, and the air was filled with the smell of lavender perfume and sweat. The club members huddled together and whispered, "Jiang Chen is here again. This public confession will be broadcast live in the whole school. Goddess Ye Zhi is going to fall." The transfer student hid in the dormitory last night. He was scared. Ye Chen hid behind the crowd, holding the old earphones tightly in his hands. Jiang Chen's tall figure appeared on the stage, his sneakers thumping on the ground like war drums. He threw off his sports coat, his chest muscles bulged under his t-shirt, and his hormonal breath hit everyone's noses. She held a larger bouquet of roses in her hands, with dewdrops dripping from the red petals and a strong fragrance. He knelt on one knee in front of Ye Zhi, and his voice was so loud that it made the door frame buzz. "Zhi. You didn't give an answer on the playground. This time the whole school witnessed it. Be my girlfriend. The school team championship ring will belong to you forever." The girls in the audience screamed, and the boys whistled, "The prince is domineering." The courtship at the door of the music club, the romance exploded. The flash of the mobile phone was like a sea of stars, and the live broadcast of the mobile phone filled the screen. #basketball prince confession #goddess nods quickly. Ye Zhi stood in the club door, her slender figure trembling in the sun, her almond-shaped eyes flashed with boredom. She pushed the bouquet gently, her voice as clear but firm as a piano string. Jiang Chen, thank you. But I have someone in my heart, and I don't want to misunderstand. After saying this, the whole audience gasped, and someone opened their eyes wide and murmured, rejected? But she said, there is someone in my heart, it's ambiguous. Who is it? Jiang Chen's face was ashen. When he stood up, the rose petals scattered on the ground, and the crunching sound was like heartbreak. He growled, who? That useless music boy. Ye Zhi, you will regret it. He turned and left, his back elongated like a defeated dog. Everyone's eyes glanced back and forth, whispering like waves, misinformation. The person in Ye Zhi's heart is probably a transfer student. No way, Jiang Chen is so handsome. Ye Chen's heart was beating like thunder, but when he saw that Jiang Chen hadn't gone far, he turned around and grabbed Ye Zhi's wrist. Ye Zhi, the music festival requires dance rehearsals, come and give it a try. He forcibly dragged her to the open space in front of the club, and the loudspeaker of the music club suddenly started playing passionate dance music, and the rhythm hit her eardrums. Jiang Chen held her waist tightly with his big hands and led her to spin. Ye Zhi struggled but was pulled into the dance. Her skirt flew like a flower, her hair brushed his face, and the scent of jasmine mixed with the smell of his sweat. Passers-by in the school watched, and the girls covered their mouths and screamed, the prince is teaching dance, it's so intimate. Ye Zhi didn't refuse, they held hands. The boys whistled, the ambiguity escalated, the transfer student is cheating. Su Nuan was there. He was so anxious that he stamped his feet, pulled Qin Feng's sleeves and trembled. Qin Feng, come to the rescue. Ye Zhi's eyes are panicked, she doesn't want to. Qin Feng clenched his fist and glared at Ye Chen, brother, come on. Don't let the misunderstanding ferment. Ye Chen's chest burned like fire, jealousy bitten like a poisonous snake, and his inferiority exploded into rage. He rushed out of the crowd, his old guitar already slung behind him. In full view of everyone, he kicked off the stereo, causing wires to break and sparks to fly. The dance music stopped abruptly, and there was a silence as dead as death. Jiang Chen let go, and Ye Zhi staggered back, looking directly at Ye Chen. Ye Chen plucked the strings with his fingers, and the guitar broke into a passionate solo. The low intro is like a heartbroken cry, the hum of strings shakes the ground slightly, and turns into a wild solo, with fingertips flying like lightning, riffs layered on top of each other, the air twisted into sound waves, and the glass of the club door frame buzzes and resonates. The chorus broke out, and the high notes tore through the sky, unwilling. Heartbeat. Burning for you. The sound waves hit everyone's chests. Some people's eardrums stung and they covered their ears. The girls' legs went weak and they knelt down. The boys stepped back with wide eyes. What the hell is this? Will the guitar explode? How did the transfer student move his fingers? His eyes followed. No. The members of the club rushed out. The president's glasses fell off and he pointed at him tremblingly. Amazing skill. This solo is the pinnacle in the history of the music club. Qin Feng jumped up with laughter and slapped the air. Ye Chen is awesome. Jiang Chen's face turned green. Su Nuan screamed and hugged Ye Zhi. Ye Zhi, look. He played it for you. Jiang Chen's face turned pale, his fists were trembling, and he was sweating like rain. Boy, you. But the wave of sound overwhelmed everything. Ye Chen strummed the strings for the last time, and the lingering sound of the guitar lingered for 3 days, and the floor cracked and cracked when it landed. The audience fell into a kneeling silence, then burst into thunderous applause. Passers-by smashed their mobile phones to the ground, the live broadcast collapsed. This riff is world-class. The transfer student killed the prince, a campus legend. Ye Zhixing's eyes were moist, and she rushed forward to hold his hand, and the warmth came. Ye Chen, this solo, understands my unwillingness. Her breathing was rapid, her cheeks were red, and the girls around her shouted, CP lock. Jiang Chen is defeated. Qin Feng rushed up, hugged Ye Chen's neck and shouted, brother, that solo just now gave me goosebumps. Sister Zhi is attracted to you, Su Nuan said so. Su Nuan blinked and leaned closer, whispering, Ye Zhi stayed up all night after playing in the playground last night, turning over your earphones. She rejected Jiang Chen just because of you. Ye Chen's heart surged with warmth, and his inferiority complex disappeared. He turned to Ye Zhi, his voice was low but firm. Ye Zhi, let's work together to create a school song. A remix version of Starry Sky, add your piano and my riff, and go to the music festival. Ye Zhi nodded, with a smile blooming like a spring flower, and touched his earphone cord lightly with her fingers. Okay, together. Your music is my heartbeat. Everyone widened their eyes and whispered, Creative CP is born. The music festival is going to blow up the campus. Jiang Chen strode forward, knelt on one knee, and pulled out a bouquet of bright roses from his back. The red petals were dazzling in the sunlight, and the fragrance filled his nostrils. Ye Zhi, from the first moment I saw you, I knew you were my destiny. Be my girlfriend, and I want the whole school to witness the school team's celebration party tonight. The voice was as loud as a broadcast, and the whole playground was silent, and then cheered. The girls screamed, accept him, goddess. The prince of basketball shows his love, it's so dreamy. Su Nuan's eyes widened and she tugged on Ye Zhi's arm, Ye Zhi, this. Ye Zhi's face turned pale, she squeezed the flyer with her fingers, and her eyes evaded, Jiang Chen, I. In the rehearsal room, the afterglow of the setting sun was shining, the humming of piano keys intertwined with the low hum of guitar, and the fragrance of coffee and ink filled the air. Ye Zhi's fingers were flying as she hummed the new demo, Under the Stars, sharing thoughts. Ye Chen's riff was embedded perfectly. She leaned closer to share the headphones, and the heat hit her ears. Ye Chen, this song has your shadow. Ambiguous like sugar melting, Su Nuan peeped outside the door and excitedly called Qin Feng, the intimacy is off the charts. Qin Feng replied, sure. Jiang Chen, get out. The rehearsal ended, and suddenly a shadow fell outside the door. Jiang Chen blocked the door, his jersey was wet, his nose smelled of sweat, and his eyes were like wolves. Music boy, don't have such wishful thinking. Ye Zhi will be mine sooner or later. He threw out a crumpled piece of paper, smashed it at Ye Zhi's feet, turned around and strode away, his heels clicking on the ground like the drums of a defeated war drum. Ye Zhi picked it up, her face changed slightly, but she didn't open it on the spot and stuffed it into her pocket. Ye Chen, ignore him. Let's continue to create. But Ye Chen caught a glimpse of the pink heart shape on the edge of the note, and his heart sank, and the shadow of misunderstanding quietly crept up. Is that a love letter? She accepted it. The lights in the rehearsal room flickered like candle flames, reflecting Ye Zhi's slender fingers caressing the piano keys. The music was humming like the night wind, mixed with the residual fragrance of coffee and the smell of ink, and the air was filled with ambiguous sultry heat. Ye Chen leaned against the door, holding the old guitar against his chest. The light reflected from the strings was dazzling. His eyes unconsciously glanced at Ye Zhi's pocket. The edge of the pink note was looming, like a poisonous thorn piercing his heart, causing throbbing pain. She accepted Jiang Chen's things, and in her heart. The inferiority complex surged in like a tide, drowning the remaining warmth from last night. His throat tightened and his voice was hoarse. Ye Zhi, let's continue. Remix, Things in the Starry Sky, please slow down the piano intro. Ye Zhi turned around, her almond eyes shining as soft as moonlight, her skirt brushing against the rustle of the floor. She leaned closer to share the headphones, the hot air brushed against his ears, and the scent of jasmine hit his nostrils. Okay, Ye Chen. The riff last night was so explosive, how about adding a new song? It's called Headphone Heartbeat and talks about the feeling of us sharing a playlist. Brainstorm inspiration, let's start from the beginning. She pulled him to sit next to the piano bench, and they touched each other shoulder to shoulder. The warmth was transmitted like an electric current. The headphone cord was entangled between their fingers, and the same song, "The Brightest Star in the Night Sky," was whispered. The lyrics were like pouring out the heart. "You said where you want to go, and I want to go there too." Ye Zhi's voice was soft and waxy, and she leaned in and whispered, "Ye Chen, when you shared the headphones on the first day you transferred to school, my heartbeat went crazy. Like in the song, I am afraid of missing but afraid of being too close." Her eyelashes trembled, her cheeks were as red as the morning glow, and the smell of toffee mixed with the fragrance of piano room wood in her breath. Ye Chen's heart felt warm, and the misunderstanding was temporarily suppressed. He plucked the strings to test the sound, and the low hum of the guitar was embedded in her humming. The riffs were like a heartbeat speeding up, vibrating the air layer by layer. "Ye Zhi, me too. I'm too introverted to say it, but the music understands me." Add this sentence to the lyrics, the headphone cord is pulled closer, but it brings constant misunderstandings. The eyes of the two met, their smiles melted like honey, the keys of the piano were flying and the guitar was wild. Her hand inadvertently covered his, the palm of her hand was moist and sticky, perfect. "Ye Chen, your shadow is all in it." The ambiguity stretched like sugar threads, the night bugs outside the window whispered, and the campus bells echoed melodiously, as if they were accompanying them. The shadow outside the door shook. Su Nuan leaned against the wall and eavesdropped. Her ears were red. She bit her lip in excitement and whispered. She pulled out her phone and knocked Qin Feng wildly. "Ah ah ah." Ye Zhi said her heart was beating wildly. The CP intimacy of the headphones is off the charts, and the creation is super sweet. Hurry up and organize a band to audition. Qin Feng replied in seconds and roared passionately, "Nyo Ye Zhi, damn it. I played the drums and the bass, and the three-person music festival band was born. We will gather in the rehearsal room tomorrow to fight against Jiang Chen for the whole school live broadcast." Su Nuan took a peek and saw Ye Zhi with her head on Ye Chen's shoulder, screaming back in her throat, and her legs were weak and she sat on the ground. "It's so foul, this scene is posted on the school circle." At dusk the next day, the rehearsal room of the music club was as busy as a battlefield. The blood-red sunset spilled through the window, illuminating Qin Feng's drum set and beating like a heart. The bassist's chubby fingers plucked the strings and buzzed, and the smell of sweat and engine oil mixed in the air. Qin Feng's pendant swayed and shouted, "Sister Ye Chenji, come here. I'm the lead singer and try out the demo of Headphone Heartbeat." Ye Zhi smiled and nodded, pulling Ye Chen onto the stage. The piano opened as softly as water waves, and the guitar riff exploded wildly. Qin Feng's voice was hoarse and tearing, "Headphone cords are entangled, heartbeats are shared, unwilling nights, misunderstood stars." The whole room shook, and the drums beat like thunder. Boom, the sound waves hit the wall and buzzed. The president pushed the door and barged in. His glasses slipped and he trembled. This is the campus song. It will definitely win the music festival and a new page in the history of the club." Xiaopeng's eyes widened and his bass dropped to the floor, the lead singer's voice exploded. The guitar skills are here again, and the eyes can't keep up with the fingers. Passing students squeezed the door and screamed, "The live broadcast is on. #headphone heartbeat #the creative CP is invincible." Su Nuan jumped up and clapped her hands, hugging Ye Zhi's arms. "Ye Zhi, your eyes are so twitchy. Jiang Chen is going to vomit blood after hearing this." The applause was overwhelming. Ye Chen's mouth corners were raised, and his confidence was burning, but when he was leaving, he caught a glimpse of Ye Zhi's drawer half open, the crumpled pink note was clearly visible, the heart-shaped edge was dazzling, and the 4 words, "Ye Zhi, forever," were vaguely visible in Jiang Chen's handwriting. His heart felt like it was falling into an ice cave, his fists clenched, and blood flowed from his nails embedded in his palms. Is she still tempted? Was the sweetness last night a fake? Jealousy burned like a poisonous fire, and his self-esteem exploded. He turned his back to Ye Zhi, his voice as cold as frost. Ye Zhi, that's enough for today. I'll go first. The guitar strings trembled slightly, and the door slammed shut, leaving the room silent. The lights in the practice room are dim, the guitar strings are trembling, the night wind blows in the curtains, and the heartbeat of youth is facing a new storm. Su Nuan pulled Qin Feng and whispered, "It's broken, Jiang Chen's love letter. Ye Chen's eyes are wrong." Qin Feng clenched his fist, "Next time at the music festival, I will crush you as the lead singer." In the distance, Jiang Chen's figure disappeared into the dusk, and the scent of roses lingered in the air, indicating greater waves. Ye Chen stroked the strings with his fingers and growled in his heart, "Can't lose." But the pink color of the note is like a poisonous thorn piercing the heart, and the campus bell is ringing melodiously, waiting to explode. Su Nuan rushed out of the club and stomped her feet to pull Ye Zhi. "Ye Zhi." Ye Chen saw the note in the drawer. "He thought you were attracted to Jiang Chen, and the misunderstanding was fermented." Ye Zhi's face turned pale, he picked up the note and tore it up on the spot. The fragments fell like snow, and his voice was firm but trembling. "Fool, I just stuffed it there without even looking at it." "Why? Do you want to clarify?" "He doesn't believe me." Su Nuan advised, "Speak directly tomorrow. Or should I send a message?" Ye Zhi shook her head, her almond-shaped eyes moistened. "No, I will do it myself. I can't let the misunderstanding ruin headphone heartbeat. She turned back to the club, the piano keys made a muffled sound like heartbreak, the lights of the basketball court outside the window lit up, and Jiang Chen's figure towered like a mountain. At noon the next day, the basketball court was crowded with people, the sun was baking the plastic floor, the smell of sweat and popcorn was fragrant, and the cheerleaders' skirts were flying and their screams were shaking. The school team was warming up. Jiang Chen was dribbling like the wind, his muscles bulging and his t-shirt was soaked. He suddenly stopped on the sidelines and locked eyes with Ye Zhi. His tall figure blocked the sun and his voice was louder than the whistle. "Ye Zhi. Come and watch the game. If you win the championship, I will be your dancing partner at the music festival." All the girls in the audience shouted, "The prince invites the goddess." Ambiguity rekindled. Ye Zhi hesitated, while Su Nuan pulled her sleeves aside. Whispering, "Go and clarify. Ye Chen will also come and see." But Ye Zhi shook his head, his cheeks were slightly red but firm. "No, Jiang Chen. I have rehearsals." Jiang Chen's face stiffened, but he laughed and shook off his sweat. "It's up to you. But witness my king on the court." He turned around and rushed to the court, his sneakers squeaked on the ground, and everyone whispered, "Rejected?" But his eyes are flustered, the transfer student is scheduled to be cheated. Qin Feng dragged Ye Chen to the back row of the stands and patted his shoulder enthusiastically. "Brother," Ye Zhi declined the invitation. "There was a misunderstanding on the note, I'll help you ask." Ye Chen was so confused that he plugged his old headphones into his ears, but couldn't hear the headphone heartbeat demonstration, and stared at the field with his eyes fixed on the field. The buzzer sounded and the game started. Jiang Chen exploded like a beast. The basketball smashed against the basket and roared. He passed the defense with a fake move, turned around in the air and hit a three-pointer. The net rustled. The audience screamed like a tsunami, "The prince's sharpshooter. The school team is invincible." Su Nuan pulled Ye Zhi to sit in the front row and whispered, "Ye Zhi, Ye Chen's eyes are wrong in the stands, please explain." Ye Zhi stood up and wanted to leave, but was locked by Jiang Chen's eyes. At midfield, Jiang Chen scored 20 points in a row, and the team led by 20. When the buzzer stopped, he rushed straight to the sidelines, sweat drops flying like rain. In front of everyone, he knelt on one knee in front of Ye Zhi, held her face in his big hands, and pressed his lips against her cheeks. The hot and moist feeling was like burning, and the smell of rose perfume mixed with sweat hit his nostrils. "Ye Zhi, this kiss will score a goal for you." The audience was silent for a second, and then the girls screamed and collapsed, "Kiss! Kiss on the cheek!" Really powerful. The boy blew the whistle. The prince is overbearing. The transfer student witnessed it live. It's embarrassing. The mobile phone flashed like a rainstorm, and the live broadcast barrages exploded. #kiss #the music boy is finished. The campus is in shock, and the dream of pure love is shattered. Ye Zhi's face turned pale and she pushed him away. Her palms were red and swollen, and her voice was as sharp as cracked silk. Jiang Chen. What are you doing? I told you that there is someone in my heart. She wiped her cheeks, tears glistening, and turned to scan the stands, only to see that Ye Chen's figure had disappeared, and only the earphone cords were broken in the crowd. Qin Fang's eyes widened and he hit the railing with his fist. Damn it. Ye Chen broke down and ran away. Jiang Chen, you bastard. Su Nuan screamed and chased Ye Zhi. Ye Zhi, he misunderstood the most. Chase. On the field, Jiang Chen laughed and stood up, looking at the empty seats in the stands with sinister eyes. Boy, this is the beginning. The basketball rolled to the ground with a grunt, the sunset stretched the shadows, the campus bell rang low, and the youthful storm reached its peak. Ye Chen rushed out of the stadium, the night wind whipped his face, his chest felt like a knife twisting, the old guitar hit the ground with a muffled sound, and the broken string stabbed the blood. Why, she didn't push it away. The heartbeat of the headphones is all fake. There were thunderous cheers in the distance, and his figure disappeared into the tree-lined avenue. Dark clouds of misunderstanding were looming over the top. In the countdown to the music festival, a new enemy quietly approached. Su Nuan chased after him out of breath, and pulled Qin Feng. It's broken. Ye Chen's self-esteem collapsed. Jiang Chen counterattacked. How to save the situation? Qin Feng clenched his fists and roared, all the orchestra. The music festival crushed the school team. But Ye Zhi's eyes were filled with tears, and she picked up the disconnected earphones and murmured, Ye Chen, wait for me to explain. The lingering fragrance of roses lingered in the air, indicating an even greater heartbreak. On the boulevard, the streetlight stretched Ye Chen's shadow like a broken string. The night wind mixed with the moisture of the earth, and the smell of barbecue smoke in the distance was so pungent that it made his stomach twist. He squatted on the side of the road, the broken guitar string wrapped around his fingers, and blood dripped down the fingertips onto the asphalt, making a snapping sound like a heartbeat. The headphone cord was broken into two pieces, lying next to his feet like a torn promise. The melody of headphone heartbeat was still echoing in his mind, but it was twisted into a mocking whisper. She pushed away. But why did she smile so sweetly? Jiang Chen's kiss was fragrant. The inferiority complex was swallowed up by a black tide. He smashed his fists on the ground, his knuckles were bruised and stained with blood under the street lamp. The barking of dogs echoed in the distance, as if they were laughing at his wishful thinking. Qin Feng rushed over panting, his t-shirt was soaked and smelly with sweat, and the pendant dangled on his chest like a pendulum. He grabbed Ye Chen's collar, his eyes widened like copper bells, and his voice was hoarse and shouted, Brother! Why the hell are you running away? Ye Zhi pushed Jiang Chen away. Everyone in the audience saw that her face was as pale as a ghost and she was crying. Are you blind? It's just a misunderstanding. I'll ask you to clarify. Ye Chen threw away his hand and stared at Duan Xian with a lump in his throat. What are you asking? The strip was kept, and the kiss was continued, the music and headphones were all fake. I'm not worthy of it. Qin Feng stamped his feet angrily, as tar debris flew and the leaves around him trembled. Coward. The prince is nothing, I will crush him at the music festival. Him. Get up, repair the guitar, and go to rehearsal. But Ye Chen shook his head, picked up the broken piano case and stumbled away. His back was blurred in the mist. Qin Feng clenched his fist and murmured a curse, this kid's self-esteem is broken. How can I save him? Su Nuan supported Ye Zhi and chased her out of the gym. The hems of their skirts were wet. Jasmine was mixed with salty tears. They picked up the broken earphone cord. Ye Zhi's fingers trembled and rolled up. Her almond-shaped eyes were as red and swollen as rabbits. He heard everything. The whole school saw Jiang Chen's bastard kiss. I pushed it too late. Ye Chen, you idiot, why don't you believe me? Su Nuan bit her lips, hugged her shoulders tightly, and exhaled white mist. Ye Zhi, let's go straight tomorrow. I'm sending a message. Qin Feng's hot-blooded man will also assist. The campus forum has exploded, and #PrinceKissGoddess hashtag is the top trending topic, but some fans of justice said you refused. Ye Zhi nodded, tears falling down the earphone cord, and the night wind rolled up pieces like snow. Well, we can't let the misunderstanding ruin headphone heartbeat. Go home and fix them. The lights of the basketball court in the distance dimmed, Jiang Chen's figure disappeared, and the scent of rose perfume lingered in the air, spreading quietly like a shadow. Early the next morning, the campus square was filled with fog. The fried dough sticks from the breakfast stall were fragrant, and students were whispering like buzzers. Ye Chen lowered his head and walked quickly through the crowd, with the broken guitar dangling behind him, and the hum of broken strings accompanying his footsteps. He deliberately bypassed the music club and went straight to the old piano room, that unknown corner. The smell of dust and musty wood filled the air, and the sunlight slanted through the broken window, illuminating his pale face. Avoid her, focus on the music. He murmured, repairing the broken strings. His fingers were bloody and cracked, and he plucked the strings to test the sound. The low riff echoed like a heartbreak. Qin Feng burst into the door, his drum sticks banging on the door frame like war drums, his eyes spitting fire. Ye Chen. Are you hiding from Ye Zhi? You are as timid as a mouse. The kiss last night was forced by Jiang Chen, and she slapped him. Forum videos are flying all over the sky. You are still cold fight. Ye Chen plucked the strings faster, the guitar roared wildly over the words, and sawdust fell. Stop talking, Qin Feng. Rehearse, headphone heartbeat. The music festival cannot be shameful. Qin Feng stared at the phantom on his fingers with wide eyes. And his voice trembled. My magic skills have been upgraded again. My fingers are like lightning, and the strings are buzzing so much that my heart stops. But you kid, you misunderstood, and your pride has troubled you, and you will regret it sooner or later. He patted his shoulders and sat down, and the bassist Chubby stepped in with his heels, sliding his glasses and muttering, the lead singer is right, the guitar chorus is missing, create it, brother. Passers-by outside the piano room squeezed in to eavesdrop, screaming and whispering. The transfer student solo exploded. The ace of the band, the music festival is safe. Campus rumors were like wildfire. Outside the library during the lunch break, Su Nuan pulled Ye Zhi to hide behind a tree. Her gossipy eyes flickered, and the barrage on her mobile phone flooded the screen. #PrinceGoddessCP #Jiang Chen sent a bouquet to the music club. Ye Zhi frowned, bored eyes flashed, here we go again. Before she could finish her words, Jiang Chen's tall figure appeared, the basketball spinning in his hand and buzzing, and the attendant behind him held a giant bouquet of roses. The pungent floral fragrance drowned out the smell of books and ink in the library. He posed on one knee and his voice was louder than the chirping of birds. Ye Zhi. The kiss last night was exciting. I sponsored the lights at the music festival and will be your dancer boyfriend. The girls around screamed and collapsed, and the girl with glasses pushed up her glasses and trembled. The prince is romantic. CP is locked. The boy whistled, the transfer student is green, and the bouquet is more expensive than the guitar. Ye Zhi's face turned livid, and she stepped back politely, sweeping away petals from her skirt. Jiang Chen, thank you. But I have something on my mind, don't get me wrong. She turned around and walked away quickly. Jiang Chen caught up with her and put a box of chocolates in her hand. The packaging was gleaming. At least accept it. I'm treating you to the school anniversary. The followers snickered, the goddess is shy. She refused 3 times and accepted it. The prince is invincible. The rumors escalated instantly, and the WeChat group exploded. Ye Zhi accepted the gift. Pure love. Jiang Chen is sure to win. Ye Chen heard this in the piano room. There was a muffled sound when his fist hit the piano body, and the blood scab burst. He played alone and incorporated it into the creation of the chorus, with the guitar strings elongated and wailing like blood. The headphone cord is broken, the heartbeat is crazy, roses are stinging, and misunderstandings are like rain. The riffs are layered on top of each other, shaking the beams, dust falling, and the leaves outside the window trembling. The chubby boy pushed the door open and looked in. The bass fell to the ground and stared. The chorus is amazing. I feel so full of struggle that I get goosebumps when I hear it. Brother Yi, your inner drama is exploding, this music festival will be a hit. Qin Feng's voice boomed, awesome. But hide from Ye Zhi. Why? Su Nuan said she refused 3 times, the rumors are just hype. Ye Chen wiped his sweat, his eyes dim, hype work, or sincerity? Don't worry. As the sun set, the sound of the piano lingered, and he left with his self-esteem built up like an iron wall. A few days later, it rained heavily, and the water curtains fell like beads on the campus boulevard. The smell of mud mixed with the fragrance of grass after the rain, and the thunder was deafening. Ye Chen broke his umbrella and rushed out of the teaching building. His clothes were soaked and the cold was biting, and his broken guitar case was dripping with rain. Suddenly, a pink umbrella opened in the sky, and the scent of jasmine was warm. Ye Zhi's figure appeared, with the wet hem of her skirt sticking to her legs, her almond-shaped eyes sparkling with water. Ye Chen. Last week. I'm sorry, I didn't explain clearly. I pushed away Jiang Chen's kiss and tore up the note. Do you think you can't trust me when you avoid me? She came closer, the heat touched her face, and the shoulder-to-shoulder contact was like an electric current, and the raindrops fell and patted along the umbrella. Ye Chen's heartbeat was racing, his throat was tight, and he almost blurted out, I saw, you were smiling and accepting the flowers. But his pride was blocked, he lowered his head to dodge, and the raindrops fell into his eyes. It's okay, Ye Zhi. See you at the music festival rehearsal. Her pace quickened, and the edge of the umbrella bumped against the rustle, and she grabbed her sleeve. Her fingers were cold and sticky. Ye Chen. Tell me, where is the misunderstanding? Did you write the chorus of Headphones Heartbeat alone? We are together, sharing the heartbeat, don't disconnect. Her voice was crying, her eyelashes were trembling, and the smell of toffee mixed with rain hit his nose, making his chest cramp. Just when Ye Chen's lips were slightly open and he was on the verge of confessing, the ringtone rang harshly. Jiang Chen called, and the phone screen lit up with Prince of Basketball, and the rose icon dazzled the eyes. Ye Zhi hesitated for a second, answered the call, and pressed the speakerphone. Jiang Chen's voice was louder than the thunder. Ye Zhi. I'm here for the school anniversary rehearsal. The lighting truck stopped at the music club and took you to have a midnight snack. Passers-by in the rain stopped and whispered, did you hear that? Wang invited by my son. It's embarrassing to see the transfer student. Ye Zhi turned pale and hung up urgently. Jiang Chen, don't make trouble. I'm rehearsing the remix of Things in the Starry Sky, so I won't go. But Ye Chen's eyes were cold, and he threw away his hand and rushed into the rain curtain, his back disappearing into the fog. Angry, the guitar case splashed with water. Here you go again. The phone call was sweet, as expected. Ye Zhi stomped her feet and cried in the rain. She held an umbrella and chased for half a step. She slipped in the mud and her skirt was stained black. Ye Chen. It's not what you think. Su Nuan rushed from a distance and pulled her up. Body, panting, it's broken. The phone call was interrupted, the misunderstanding escalated. The school anniversary is getting ready. Ye Zhi, please invite him to perform. Ye Zhi wiped away tears and nodded firmly. Well, the music club informed everyone to assemble. That guy Jiang Chen dared to try to sabotage it. The next day in the music club, the lights were dazzling like spotlights, the residual fragrance of coffee and the smell of piano oil filled the air. The Qin Feng drum group started with a passionate start, and the little fat bass hummed low. Ye Zhi pulled Ye Chen onto the stage. The piano intro was soft and rippled, and her eyes were drawn. Ye Chen, play the chorus together. School anniversary performance, our band's ace. Ye Chen plucked the strings to audition. The riff was inserted wildly, everyone stared, the president pushed the mirror and trembled, the gods cooperate. The remix version explodes. The little fat leg said softly, the guitarist referring to ghosts, the chorus feels like a struggle that hits my heart. But the shadow outside the door shook, Jiang Chen's figure loomed, the basketball was spinning in his hand, and a sinister smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Boy, show. I have a surprise. After the thunderstorm, the air was sultry and the bells sounded low, indicating that the school anniversary storm was about to break out. The dark clouds of misunderstanding were looming, and the sparks of pure love were swaying. The lights of the music club scorched the air like hot spotlights, the bitterness of coffee grounds and the greasy smell of piano oil intertwined into a sultry mist. Qin Feng's drumstick hit like a thump, like a heart beating wildly, and the little fat bass hummed as low as an underground current. Ye Zhi's piano fingers caressed the black and white keys like butterfly wings, intro soft ripples like water waves. Her eyes were drawn on Ye Chen's face, her almond-shaped eyes sparkling. Ye Chen, chorus. Let's go together. Her voice was soft and trembling, the hem of her skirt brushed the edge of the piano bench, and the scent of jasmine perfume hit her nostrils, as gentle as the grass after the rain. Ye Chen's throat tightened, and the barrier of self-esteem was faintly loosened. He plucked the strings with his fingers, and the riff was as wild as lightning tearing through the night sky, layer by layer embedded in the piano. The strings buzzed so much that the air trembled, and sawdust fell from the ceiling. The president pushed up his glasses, his pupils shrank sharply behind his glasses, and his voice trembled like a leaf falling in the wind. God, the gods cooperate. The remix of Starry Sky Hearts, the guitar fingers flickered ghostly, and the chorus pierced my heart with a sense of struggle. My legs gave out. The chubby bassist's legs softened, and the strings buzzed out of control. He murmured with round eyes, Brother Yi has upgraded his magic skills, and the strings are pulled like tears. It makes my goosebumps explode. The whole school is kneeling at the explosion on the school anniversary. Qin the drumstick paused, beads of sweat fell down the bridge of his nose, and he shouted with eyes as wide as copper bells, Ye Chen, you kid, you are so inferior and misunderstood that you can still burst into riffs, and you can crush that Prince Jiang Chen at the music festival. Club members squeezed through the cracks in the door to peek, and girls screamed and whispered like a swarm of bees, the transfer student is the guitar king, the goddess piano fairy, CP is locked. The boy smashed his fists on his palms, the lighting sponsorship is nothing, this band is the ace of the school anniversary. Ye Zhi stood up, the hem of her skirt rippled in the water, and she came close to Ye Chen's side, the hot air brushing against his ears like electricity. She took out the repaired old earphones from the piano case. The broken wires had been reconnected. The silver wires flickered like new veins, and the lingering fragrance of toffee filled her nostrils. Ye Chen. Headphone heartbeat, demonstration, the chorus you wrote was so thoughtful. Let's relive the song when we first met, shall we? Her fingers touched the back of his hand lightly, cold and sticky like raindrops rolling down, and the touch was so soft that Ye Chen's heart skipped a beat. Self-esteem was like an iron thorn in his throat. He wanted to shake it off, but he nodded mysteriously. The two people's earphone cords were split, one on the left and one on the right, sharing the same melody. The brisk rhythm of the first encounter sounded, and her eardrums trembled sweetly. Her mind flashed back to the moment when they shared their heartbeats on the boulevard, and her smile bloomed like a flower. Ye Zhi's eyelashes trembled, and her almond-shaped eyes locked onto his pupils, as sticky as silk, remember? On the first day of transferring school, you said that music connects the soul. I misunderstood, I never confiscated Jiang Chen's feelings. Those notes and bouquets were all pushed away. Her breathing was rapid, her chest heaved and touched his arm, and the strong smell of jasmine mixed with toffee hit her nostrils. Ye Chen unconsciously tightened the earphone cord with his fingers, his throat rolled, and he almost blurted out, Ye Zhi, I. As the confession came to his lips, a dark wave of inferiority surged. The phone call was sweet and the rose was pungent. He gritted his teeth and swallowed, muttering, well, the demo is done. Let's rehearse. But his eyes softened and the cracks in the barrier widened. Qin Feng rushed onto the stage, his nose smelling of sweat. He hooked Ye Chen's shoulder and said in a hoarse voice, brother. Su Nuan sent word that Jiang Chen's note was a prank. His follower admitted that he forged love letters to stir up #PrinceGossipy #HotSearch. The forum video is irrefutable. Why are you still in the Cold War? Su Nuan slipped in from the back door, his lively gossip eyes flashed, and the barrage on his phone filled the screen. Poked Qin Feng's arm with her finger, yes. I saw Jiang Chen's follower snickering with my own eyes. The kiss was a forced kiss, the bouquet was thrown away in the trash can, and the chocolate was fed to the dog. Ye Zhi refused 5 times, and he also dialed the phone hard. You guys share music, it's so sweet. She pushed Ye Zhi's waist in the blink of an eye, and the girl snickered and collapsed. My best friend assists to the god level. Pure love CP takes off. Ye Zhi's cheeks turned red, and tapping Ye Chen's palm was like an electric shock. Thank you Qin Feng, Su Nuan, Ye Chen, believe me. His eyes dodged, but he did not retreat. The riff started again, the guitar wildly echoed in the club, and everyone screamed, misunderstanding. The band is invincible, and the school anniversary will be popular. The little chubby bass followed up, his legs still soft and murmured, the secret exploded, the prince's conspiracy was exposed, Ye Zhi's guitar heals the heartbreak. The rehearsal continued until the afterglow of the sunset fell on the windowsill. The demo was frozen perfectly, the strings buzzed and the aftertaste lingered, and the smell of piano oil and sweat in the air mixed into the fragrance of victory. Qin Feng slapped his chest and laughed loudly. On the night of the school anniversary, everyone is here. Ye Chen's guitar explodes, my lead singer roars, and Ye Zhi, the piano genius, crushes the Prince of Lights. A few days passed by in a blink of an eye. On the night of the school anniversary, the sea of lights in the campus square poured down like a star river, the crowd surged like black waves, the smell of barbecue smoke, the sweet smell of popcorn and the stench of sweat intertwined, and the air was so muggy that it burned the lungs. The spotlight on the stage was as dazzling as a knife, the sound was humming low, and the students packed the front row and whispered loudly, here comes the ace of the orchestra. #headphone heartbeat #demo preheating forum crashed, transfer students magical skills versus Prince's lighting. Jiang Chen's figure was hidden in the side curtain, his tall silhouette cast a shadow, the basketball was spinning in his hand and buzzing, a sneer was raised at the corner of his mouth, and the smell of rose water was faintly floating like poisonous mist. Qin Feng rushed to the stage, his t-shirt soaked with sweat and beads of sweat, holding his drum stick high and roaring, the ace of the music club, blow up the school anniversary. The remix of Things in the Starry Sky, Let's Do It. The drum beats roared like war drums, and the chubby bass followed up with a low roar. The president pushed the camera backstage and trembled, hot-blooded lead singer, drum group's heart explodes. The whole place is boiling. Ye Zhi's piano intro was filled with soft waves, and the hem of her skirt shimmered under the light. The lead singer's voice was as clear as a stream, locking onto Ye Chen, under the starry sky, sharing your thoughts. Her almond-shaped eyes looked straight at Ye Chen, pulling like a thread, and the fragrance of jasmine blew under the stage with the wind. Ye Chen plucked the strings, his guitar skills exploded, his fingers phantomed with lightning, the riffs wildly tore through the night sky, and the choruses struggled and layered to hit the soul. The whole place was silent for a second, and then a tsunami of screams broke out, guitar ghost. I can't see my fingers, the strings are full of blood from weeping. The girl burst into tears and covered her chest, the goddess's eyes are locked, the pure love heart stops. The boy pumped his fist and shouted, the band is crushed, the prince. Cuckold. #headphone heartbeat #realhammer divine song. Qin Feng smashed the blood with his drumstick, stared and shouted, Ye Chen upgraded, magical skills to cure misunderstandings. Everyone knelt down. Little Fat Best's legs were weak and he knelt down. The chorus is heartbreaking, my soul is flying. School Anniversary Legend. In the middle of the performance, the demonstration of headphone heartbeat was switched. Ye Zhi stood up and came close to Ye Chen, sharing the headphone cord and hanging it around his neck. Their eyes sparkled as they performed together, and the lead singer sang sweetly, the headphone cord is broken, the heartbeat is stable, share pure love. In the audience, Su Nuan pulled Qin Feng and screamed, electric shock is ambiguous. Hands touch hands, they are wired to death. President Ho, the camera lens fell to the ground, the demo is perfect, the emotions are released, the peak of pure love on campus. The mobile phones in the audience flashed like starbursts, and the forum screen was flooded in real time. The fairy band, the transfer student is on the verge of confessing. Ye Chen was so excited that he almost threw the piano to embrace her, but the embers of self-esteem suppressed him, and he could only respond with a riff. The strings buzzed and the lights trembled. Before the aftermath of the climax had subsided, Jiang Chen suddenly rushed to the stage. The lighting car buzzed to follow. His tall figure blocked the spotlight, and the basketball hit the ground with a muffled sound. He grabbed the microphone and his voice was loud and louder than the lingering sound, Ye Zhi. This band is good, but the Prince lights are more romantic. The whole school witnessed it. I, Jiang Chen, confessed, be my girlfriend, and I will sponsor the tour during the music festival. A bouquet of roses was thrown out from the hands of the backstage attendant, and the pungent floral fragrance drowned out the whole school. In the square, he stood on one knee and looked handsome. The girls in the audience broke down and screamed, the Prince is romantic. CP is back. The boy blew the whistle, green, green, the transfer student is finished. Ye Zhi's face turned pale, her almond-shaped eyes flashed with disgust, and she threw away the microphone and loudly said, Jiang Chen. That's enough. I reject all the pranks, forced kisses, and bouquets. My heart is in music, in. Her eyes drifted towards Ye Chen, as gentle as silk. But Jiang Chen laughed and stepped forward, grabbed her wrist, blocked the light with his tall body, and scattered rose petals on the stage, shy. I'm home for the school anniversary, don't deny it. Ye Zhi struggled, the hem of her skirt was tearing sharply, and the scent of jasmine was pungent, let go. The whole school is watching. The audience was dead silent, and Su Nuan was so angry that he stamped his feet, asshole, you are overbearing. Qin Feng's drumstick banged on the edge of the stage, his eyes spitfire, Prince is bullying. Ye Chen, come on. But Jiang Chen's sinister eyes glanced at Ye Chen, and he roared over the sound. Only the two of them heard, boy, quit the music club, otherwise the lighting truck will shut down the venue and the band will fail. Ye Zhi is mine. The threat hung like a knife from the ceiling. Ye Chen clenched his fist, his knuckles turned white, the guitar strings buzzed intermittently, the black tide of self-esteem surged again, and the friendship crisis hit like a thunder. The sea of lights in the square is flickering, the sultry air is stagnant after the rain, the school anniversary storm is bursting at the edge, and the spark of pure love is swaying and waiting to be extinguished. The sea of lights in the square was like the dark clouds before a rainstorm. The spotlights pierced the night but could not illuminate Ye Zhi's pale face. Her wrists were pinched with red marks by Jiang Chen's iron-like fingers. The torn edge of her skirt trembled in the wind like a weeping flag. Rose petals scattered on the stage with a crackling sound. The pungent floral fragrance was mixed with barbecue smoke and sweat, and it was as strong as poisonous gas filling her lungs. The screams of the crowd in the audience that should have been boiling suddenly stopped, and it was as silent as a tomb. The students' mobile phone flashes froze in midair, and their eyes widened as if they were seeing ghosts. The girls covered their mouths and sobbed, the prince is so strong, the goddess is struggling so miserably. The boys unclenched their fists, whispering like a defeated dog, the transfer student turned green to black, the orchestra was yellow, and the lighting truck has no solution. Jiang Chen's loud laughter drowned out the aftertaste of the sound, the basketball rolled by his feet and roared. He glanced at Ye Chen with his sinister eyes, like a knife scraping his bones. Did you hear that, kid? The music club is disbanded. Ye Zhi is coming with me. Ye Zhixing's eyes were filled with tears, and her voice was trembling but as sharp as broken glass. Jiang Chen, let go. My music doesn't need your sponsorship. She flicked hard, and her wrist was red and swollen, but she stumbled back and bumped into the piano. The keys jingled as harshly as heartbreak. Qin Feng's drumstick hit the edge of the stage, and sawdust flew like blood mist. His t-shirt was wet with sweat, and his chest heaved violently. His eyes were red and fire, and he shouted, Jiang Chen, you bastard. Is bullying a girl a hero? If the band doesn't break up, we will blow through your lights. But the voice was drowned out by the ridicule of Jiang Chen's followers. Those basketball team heroes. Han squeezed into the front row, his arms like iron walls blocking his view, and yelled, the lead singer is useless, the drums are beating loudly, how dare you fight with the prince? Plagiarism transfer student, get out. The word plagiarism exploded like thunder, and the whispers in the audience instantly increased like wildfire. What? Ye Chen's guitar skills were copied? Forum hot search hashtag plagiarism guitarist hashtag demonstration. The riff is exactly the same as that of the internet celebrity. The president's lens shattered and fell to the ground backstage. His fingers trembled as he pushed the empty frame, and his voice was like a candle in the wind. It's impossible, the fingers are ghostly performing, and the strings are elongated with tears. How can I copy it? But Jiang Chen's evidence is ironclad, and the music club is shaken. The chubby bassist's legs slid softly, and the bass strings buzzed. Intermittently, he glared and murmured, Brother Yi, can't do it? The struggling sound of the chorus makes my soul fly. Plagiarism. The club is bad, I quit the group. Su Nuan was so angry that he stomped his feet and his skirt flew up. He pulled Qin Feng's sleeves and whispered hastily, rumors. Jiang Chen's followers spread the video and faked the similarity. I have evidence, rehearse all night to fight back. Ye Chen clenched his fists so hard that his knuckles cracked blue and white, and the guitar strings broke at his fingertips and hummed like tears. The black tide of his self-esteem swallowed his chest like a tsunami. His eyes avoided Ye Zhi's tenderness, and his throat rolled but he couldn't utter a word. Jiang Chen turned around with a sneer, the light truck hummed and pushed forward like a tank being crushed, the broken rose petals were sticky and slippery, the crowds in the square automatically gave way, whispers came like poisonous arrows, the transfer student cheated to become famous, the prince is just. Hashtag headphone heartbeat hashtag divine comedy becomes a joke. The band members' eyes moved. Shaking, the girl lowered her head and wiped her tears, the goddess locked eyes with him, pure love is broken. Qin Feng grabbed Ye Chen by the shoulders, and the smell of sweat and hot breath sprayed on his face, brother. Don't collapse, tonight's rehearsal in the backyard of the music club, Su Nuan and I are planning a counterattack. That bitch Jiang Chen, basketball I'll take the showdown. Su Nuan nodded, and the barrage on her mobile phone filled the screen. She poked the air like a gun with her finger, yes. I'll clean up the forum and upload the evidence video. The plagiarism is a picture. Ye Zhi, protect Ye Chen and leave. Ye Zhi's apricot eyes locked eyes with Ye Chen and tapped his palm, which was as sticky as an electric shock. The scent of jasmine filled his nostrils in the sultry heat. Ye Chen, trust me, our music is real. The hem of her skirt swept across the side of his legs, as gentle as the grass after the rain, but mixed with the shadow of crisis. The three of them came off the stage in groups, the crowd parted like a black wave, and the campus night behind the sea of lights was as thick as ink. As the night fell, the iron gate in the backyard of the music club creaked and locked, the air was filled with the greasy taste of piano oil and the bitter taste of coffee grounds. The lights of the basketball court in the distance were as dim as a beaten dog panting, and the fishy smell of earth after the rain seeped into the bone marrow. Qin Feng's drum stick hit the pad with a low thump like a heartbeat countdown. His t-shirt was torn and patched, and his eyes were red, and he yelled at the little fat guy, "Bah, follow up. The club is shaking ass." Ye Chen's magic skills are not copied, and the whole school kneels down to lick the performance. The little fat guy's fingers trembled. The strings buzzed intermittently, and the sound was like a mosquito, brother Fong. But in Jiang Chen's video, the riff synchronization is 99%. The president is suspicious, and 3 members have withdrawn. The president pushed the empty frame, his pupils narrowed and muttered, "Where is the evidence?" The aftermath of the school anniversary, the band's reputation is in a black hole, and it's gone bad before the school sports day. Su Nuan's mobile phone flashed brightly, her fingers were flying as she uploaded the video, her lively voice was suppressed and urgent, "Look. The picture is irrefutable, Jiang Chen's followers IP tracking, the forum hot search is in reverse. Hashtag plagiarism, the fake hashtag is maxed out, Su Nuan has witnessed it." The barrage came like an avalanche, and the girls screamed and whispered, "My best friend is a detective. The transfer student is cleansed, and pure love is rekindled." But the shadow did not dissipate, the basketball was rolling and buzzing outside the window, and Jiang Chen's sinister smile could be heard faintly like a ghost. Qin Feng slapped his chest and laughed loudly but with a hoarse tone, "Whitewash. Tomorrow at the school sports day, I challenge Jiang Chen to play basketball one-on-one. The winning or losing is more important than his musical talent. Ye Chen, you write the passage and he'll Ye Zhi." Ye Chen nodded, holding the guitar and unconsciously twisting the strings with his fingers. His inner self-esteem was like an iron thorn in his throat, and the black tide of inferiority made his chest tight and short of breath. His eyes drifted towards Ye Zhi, her piano keys caressing the intro water waves, her skirt shone silvery in the moonlight, her almond-shaped eyes were brushed and sticky. "Ye Chen, the lyrics, the chorus is struggling too true, let's talk about it." The two of them leaned closer to the piano bench, hot air blew on the ears and electric current rushed. They shared old headphones hung around the neck, the cords were broken and repaired, the silver light shimmered, and the lingering fragrance of toffee mixed with the sweetness of jasmine. During the late-night discussion, the piano room was as stuffy as a steamer, and the cicadas chirping outside the window sounded like a heartbreak warning. Ye Zhi touched the back of his hand lightly with her fingers, which were as cold and sticky as dewdrops. "The passage, write about my thoughts. Introverted boy, music hides emotions, I like that, drawn eyes, unassuming but deep." Her breathing was rapid, her chest rose and touched his arm, her voice was soft and trembling. "Jiang Chen is overbearing and pungent, you are different, the day we shared headphones, heartbeats synchronized, romantic." Ye Chen's throat tightened, and the cracks in the self-esteem barrier widened. He murmured, "Ye Zhi, I have a lot of darkness in my heart, and I am not worthy of it." But when she tried the bridge with her fingers, the riff was as soft as the moonlight, embedded in her intro. The ripples of the water resonated and shook the air, and sawdust fell. Qin Feng stopped drumming, beads of sweat pattered on the ground, his eyes widened like copper bells and murmured, "The bridge section is amazing. My fingers are not lightning but weeping blood heals, my heart skipped a beat." Little Fatty Bessa's legs softened, and the strings buzzed wildly. Brother Ye's restraint exploded, romance exploded, the association is stable. Su Nuan came closer, her gossip eyes flickered and poked Ye Zhi's waist, full hint. "The introverted boy's CP is locked, and he is invincible during the rehearsal on the night before the school sports day." Ye Zhi's cheeks were flushed, and her almond-shaped eyes locked with Ye Chen, as tender as a silk thread, touched. "Ye Chen, is this part for me?" She stood up and moved closer, brushing her lips with hot air, the jasmine fragrance was as strong as a honey trap, and the soft touch made Ye Chen's heart beat wildly, and he almost confessed. But suddenly there was a muffled sound of a basketball hitting the wall outside the window, and Jiang Chen's followers whispered with sinister laughter, "Plagiarism dog, the prince of the school sports competition will knock you away." The shadow of the crisis was like a dark cloud again, and the president trembled. "The evidence is reversed, but Jiang Chen's basketball team won, and the name of the music club The Sound is half broken." The storm is coming during the school sports day. Qin Feng clenched his drumsticks, his red eyes spitting fire. Duel. The winner will be determined by the music. The night rehearsal continued until the dawn broke, and the lingering linger of the strings lingered, and the smell of sweat and earthy smell mixed in the air to create an oppressive fragrance. The next day at the school sports meeting, dark clouds hung low and thunder rolled, and the smell of plastic from the track was pungent and mixed with the smell of grass. Students crowded the stands and whispered loudly, #plagiarism storm #aftermath. The band's Night Row Shinchao section forum flooded the screen, but the Prince's basketball matchup was hot-blooded. Qin Feng came on the field with enthusiasm, his t-shirt was soaked, and the basketball hit the ground with a thud like a war drum. He yelled at Jiang Chen, "1-on-1. I lost, withdraw the rumor music club." Jiang Chen laughed loudly, the basketball was buzzing, and the rose perfume was faintly wafting like poison. The lead singer is a loser, competing with music. Win, Ye Zhi quits the club. The slam dunk shook the ground, Qin Feng fell in the air, his knees were bloody and muddy, and the girls in the audience cried, "Heroes lose miserably, the prince is invincible." The boy whistled and mocked, "The band is over, plagiarism is a real hammer." Su Nuan stomped his cell phone and the barrage collapsed, "The showdown is fake. The musical talent is crushed, and the video of the scene goes viral." Ye Zhi clenched his fists on the sideline, his eyes flashed with a dark wave of inferiority. Ye Zhi suddenly rushed forward to block him, his skirt flew up and his almond-shaped eyes were firm. "Ye Zhi, don't move. Jiang Chen is bullying." Jiang Chen rushed forward deliberately, his tall body was like a tank, and his shoulder hit Ye Zhi hard, and she staggered. He fell to the ground, his skirt stained with mud, and screamed throughout the playground, "Ye Zhi." But Jiang Chen sneered, "Protect the transfer student. There's a big misunderstanding, she's having an affair with me." A new misunderstanding exploded like thunder, and the crowd's whispers surged, "The goddess protects the wrong person. The prince is jealous and collides, pure love is broken." Ye Chen's heart is like a knife, his self-esteem is on the verge of collapse, the playground is filled with dark clouds, and the sparks of pure love are swaying and waiting to be extinguished. The plastic track on the playground was sticky and slippery. After the rain, the smell of grass and sweat filled the nostrils like rust. The black clouds were as low as a lead cover on the top of the head, and the rolling thunder warned of the violent storm. The crowd in the stands whispered like venomous snakes, "The goddess protects the transfer student who was knocked away by the prince, a new misunderstanding has been revealed." #pure love broken #is trending. Is Ye Zhi jealous and ambiguous? The mobile phone flashes like will-o'-the-wisps, and the girl's fingers are flying. In the picture, a boy smashed his fist on the railing and shouted, "The basketball match is bad, the orchestra is plagiarizing, and the music club is a marginal member of the school sports meeting." Jiang Chen's tall and loud laughter drowned out the referee's whistle. His shoulders were as broad as iron towers, and the basketball was spinning on his fingertips. He hummed and hummed, the rose perfume hit his nostrils like a poisonous mist of mockery, and his sinister eyes swept over the hem of Ye Zhi's skirt. "Ye Zhi, is there a big misunderstanding? Protect that trash and think I'm blind?" Ye Zhi's almond-shaped eyes flashed with tears, and she stood up on the ground. The glue slid down her legs and was cold and biting. Her voice was trembling but as sharp as a steel wire. "Jiang Chen. You did it on purpose, you went too far." But the crowd was already boiling, and whispers surged, "The prince is jealous and collides, the goddess is locked in a guilty conscience." The blood and mud on Qin Feng's knees seeped into his trousers, and he stumbled in front of Ye Zhi to block him. His t-shirt was soaked with sweat and clung to his chest with bulging veins. He roared at Jiang Chen with his red eyes spitting fire, "You bastard! You pretend to be a hero when you bump into a girl. I'm not convinced because of my knee injury. See the real story in the relay race." The referee's whistle was sharp and the music club's temporary team relay race kicked off to gain fame for the remaining heat of the school sports meeting. Ye Chen was pushed to the fourth pole. The guitar boy's legs were as weak as cotton, but he gritted his teeth and stood firm to start. Line, the black tide of self-esteem swallowed up the heart like a tsunami. Ye Zhi protects me, is it sympathy? Introverted trash, music plagiarized from the cuckold king, is she worthy? The chubby bassist of the first 3 sticks panted and handed over the baton, and his palms were slippery and made a dangerous snap. The president's frame fell off, and he shouted in a low voice, "Hold on." The bridge section is a masterpiece of night rehearsal, proving pure love. But Jiang Chen's followers crowded the side of the runway, their arms were ironclad and snickered, the prince's 4th hit, tripping up the transfer student, the orchestra is so yellow. The sound of gunshots exploded in the air, the footsteps on the track thumped like war drums. Ye Chen's heartbeat skipped a beat the moment he took over, cracks in the black clouds and lightning tore through the sky, illuminating his pale face, and the smell of wind and rain hit his face like a knife. When the 3rd stick was handed over, Jiang Chen had already rushed out like a tank. He deliberately turned sideways, his tall body blocked the wind, but he stretched out his legs like iron hooks to trip. Ye Chen's ankle collapsed with the hook, the stick flew off and hit the ground, rolling and buzzing. His knees hit the plastic road, stinging and bursting, and the muddy water splashing on his face was as cold as needles. The stands were silent for a moment, and then a flood of ridicule broke out. "Prince, God. Transfer student rushes to the street, get out of here." The girl screamed and covered her eyes, "It's so miserable, your knees are stained with blood, the goddess is heartbroken." Jiang Chen turned around and sneered, the basketball prince's posture was invincible, and the poisonous scent of roses wafted, unexpected, the kid is overestimating his ability. The followers smashed their fists and laughed, the orchestra is over, the music club of the school sports meeting is 0. Ye Zhixing's eyes were as wide as broken stars. The hem of her skirt was flung away in the mud and she rushed out of the runway. She knelt down to support Ye Chen's arms. The scent of jasmine mixed with mud was as gentle as redemption. Her fingers touched his bloody knees, which were cold and sticky. "Ye Chen. Does it hurt?" "Jiang Chen, you beast, I'll stay with you." At the moment when the intimate scene was frozen, the shutter of the mobile phone clicked continuously, the crowd was excited and the screenshots were spread, and the barrage avalanche, hashtag is ambiguous. Sympathy for the transfer student, the misunderstanding of pure love escalates, the prince's green light flashes. Ye Chen's throat tightened, and his self-esteem the barrier suddenly cracked even bigger, his eyes were evasive and tender, and the dark tide in his heart was like 1,000 ants eating his heart. Sympathy, she pities the introverted loser. Shared earphones and heartbeat synchronization, is it an illusion? Romantic part, written for me? No, plagiarism cuckold, not worthy. He pushed her hand away, his voice hoarse and low as a whisper, "Ye Zhi, don't let anyone misunderstand me. I can do it on my own." He staggered up, blood dripping from his knees and legs, and the wind and rain on the playground hit the ground, and the sparks of pure love flickered like candles. Qin Feng's fist hit the ground like a drumstick and splashed mud. He rushed forward and scolded Jiang Chen regardless of his knee injury. His passionate roar covered the thunder, "I tripped someone on purpose. Prince is shameless. The school sports meeting is a shady story. I'm waiting for a musical duel to blast you right in the face." Jiang Chen turned around with a smile and dunked the court with all his might. The followers gathered around the iron wall and whispered, "The loser kneels down and licks, the goddess sympathizes with the drama and laughs to death." Su Nuan was so angry that she stamped her feet and skirt flew, and the screen of her mobile phone exploded. She rushed to Ye Zhi and hugged her best friend tightly. Her lively voice was suppressed and choked, "Ye Zhi. Don't hold back the tears of grievance." Jiang Chen and the Class P picture added dirty stuff, and the whole school was brainwashed. But on the eve of the music club competition, Ye Zhixing's eyes were watery, and the whole school was brainwashed. Showing concern to the boy is not sympathy. Misunderstanding and heartbreak, why? The girl in the audience sobbed and echoed, "The goddess is so affectionate, the prince is too domineering." But the boy laughed like a knife. Pure love is just a bubble, let's play with sympathy. Hashtag embrace hashtag trending, the band's reputation is in disrepute. Ye Zhi left the stage alone, his knees hurting like fire but not as severe as his heart. He staggered into the backyard of the music club. The iron gate creaked and locked shut to isolate him from the noise of the playground. The oily piano oil and the bitter coffee air were as oppressive as a cage. Holding the guitar in his arms, his fingertips unintentionally twisted the strings and cried blood. He slumped on the piano bench, and the black tide of self-esteem was pulling at him like an abyss. Misunderstandings are superimposed, Ye Zhi's eyes are drawn, is it pity? Jiang Chen is invincible, and his reputation is half damaged in the aftermath of plagiarism. How to break the situation on the eve of the music club competition. The psychological game is raging like a storm. Retreat? Introverted nature, creative healing bridge may be reversed. Sacrifice your self-esteem and arrange a music duel to outwit you. Fingers plucked the strings to try out a new riff, the soft weeping blood layered with water waves, and the struggle embedded in the chorus of Headphones Heartbeat, flashed in my mind. The sweetness of toffee and jasmine on shared earphones flashed in my mind, and the heartbeat synchronized with the romantic confession. He murmured, don't retreat. Counterattack wisely, perfect the demo's hidden killer move, turn the residual heat of the school sports meeting into the music club competition, and the bombing proves your innocence. The ripples of the strings shook the air, sawdust fell like snow, the glimmer of light in his heart began to appear, and the way to break the desperate situation was vaguely taking shape. The night was as thick as ink, and the sea of lights on the campus was dim. Su Nuan's gossip spread, Ye Zhi retreated to create in the backyard, and the Xinqiao section was upgraded. The knee injury persists, and the brain trust arranged a music competition. Ye Zhi's almond-shaped eyes flashed with determination. She wiped away the tears, held the silver wire of the old earphones to repair the flickering, and took the initiative to push the door in. The hem of her skirt swept over the threshold and the fragrance of jasmine was like honey rain. Ye Zhi raised his head and was stunned, the strings on his fingertips stopped buzzing, and the dark tide of inferiority surged again. Why is she here? Sympathy to end. Ye Zhi came closer to the piano stool, the hot air hit the ears and electric shocks ran around. She hung the earphones lightly around her neck and played the self-recorded demo. Piano water wave in the TRO is softly embedded in his bridge, the chorus is struggling to heal the romance, and the heartbeat synchronized with the lingering fragrance of toffee is hallucinating. Ye Zhi, listen, I recorded it. Your tears and blood are soft, thinking about me, not sympathy. Misunderstandings break my heart, but the music connects me, they are in sync. The demo echoes in the sweltering steam room of the piano room, and the intermittent chirping of cicadas outside the window is like a heartbreak warning. Ye Zhi's eardrums are trembling, and the cracks in his psychological barrier are widening. True love. An introverted boy meets a goddess. Jiang Chen's shadow has not dissipated, but this demo, together it's so heart-wrenching. His throat rolled, his eyes were locked and tender, and he murmured, Ye Zhi, thank you. I misunderstood you. I believe you. His fingers touched the back of her hand, and it was cold and sticky like dewdrops. The ambiguous emotions collided with the campus hierarchy, and his self-esteem rose slightly. The two got up and walked around the campus. The paths were muddy and slippery after the rain. The street lamps cast light and shadow like the Milky Way. The lights of the basketball court in the distance were dim and the dogs were panting. The windows of the library were warm and yellow. The hem of Ye Zhi's skirt brushed against the side of his legs, and her voice was soft and trembling. Ye Zhi, share your growth story. An introverted boy, before he transferred to school. His dream of music at home was broken, his parents were divorced, and he kept his love for the guitar in silence. Her almond-shaped eyes reflected the moonlight, warm. Angrily brushing his lips, he said, on the day we shared the headphones, my heartbeats were synchronized, and my romantic thoughts were opened. Jiang Chen is domineering and pungent, but you are different, affectionate. Ye Zhi's heart surged, and the dark tide of inferiority subsided slightly, and he whispered, the small town is lonely, and music escapes the tsunami of inferiority. Meeting you, the waves heal, and the passages are heartfelt. Misunderstandings are painful, but the creation is broken, and the music club competition outsmarts Jiang Chen. The steps are shoulder to shoulder, and the sweet air of toffee and jasmine is entangled, and the youthful heartbeat is speeding up at school night. Passers-by are whispering in the distance and stare at each other, #CP walk #pure love rekindled. Knee-blooded embrace turns romantic. The girl cried and was moved, goddess takes the initiative, introverted magic skills. Qin Feng suddenly jumped out of the shadow of the tree, laughed passionately with his injured knee wrapped in gauze, and slapped his shoulder with a drumstick, brother. Perfect score for walking and drawing. On the eve of the music club competition, the bridge demo forum is warming up, and it is trending. He muttered with wide eyes. He murmured, listen to the soul flying, the weeping blood is soft and rippled in the water, and my heart skipped a beat and exploded. The little fat Bess sat on the roadside with his legs slipping softly, and the strings buzzed wildly. Brother Ye's growth story healed, the club stabilized, and the 3 idiots who quit the group came back. The barrage of Nuan's mobile phone flooded the screen, poking at Ye Zhi's waist and flashing gossip. The hint is explosive. Walking on campus CP is locked, Jiang Chen's doggy black cloud can't suppress it. The president pushed up the empty frame, narrowed his pupils and whispered, the god of resourcefulness and layout, the sacrifice of creation sacrificing blood, the music showdown is invincible. Ye Zhi's cheeks turned red, and she pulled Ye Chen's sleeve sticky, touched. Let's create together, pure love will never be broken. The ambiguity heated up and reversed slightly, the collision of self-esteem and misunderstanding eased, and the situation was like a crack in the dark cloud. Ye Zhi was stunned, her almond-shaped eyes flashed with confusion, and she chased out the door, her skirt flying under the corridor light. Jasmine followed the night breeze. Ye Chen. What's wrong? The audition was so perfect just now, but your eyes suddenly changed. She grabbed his sleeve, her fingers were cold and trembling, and her voice was crying, is it my piano? Or is it the lyrics? Tell me. Ye Chen choked with sobs, glanced at the shadow of the note, his heart ached, and he evaded, no. It's okay. Maybe I'm tired. I'll practice again at the music festival. He threw away his hand, lowered his head and left quickly, his steps were like running away, his back stretched in the dusk, and her fragrance lingered on the end of his nose, but it was like a knife. The night on the campus is like ink pouring, the paths are muddy and slippery and creaking when stepped on, and the street lamps' flickering light and shadow reflect the stiff faces of everyone. Jiang Chen's followers' sinister whispers floated into his eardrums like poisonous snakes spitting messages, Prince's magic trick, the music score has been replaced by the old handwriting. Tomorrow's inter-school competition will reveal irrefutable evidence of plagiarism, and the music club will be blown up to ashes. The folded pages of the music score hit the muddy ground, and the wind and rain first fell and the paper was splashed with water, and the ink was smudged like blood and tears. Ye Chen's heart suddenly shrank into an iron ball, his cold fingertips gripped the shoulder strap of his guitar, the pain in his knee hurt like a fire hook, his pale face twisted in the shadow of the lamp, and the dark tide of inferiority surged like a tsunami. Sneak change, Jiang Chen's ultimate kill, plagiarism poison upgrade, everything was ruined on the eve of the competition. Introverted loser, not worthy of Ye Zhi's pure love. Ye Zhi's almond-shaped eyes staring like a broken star, she fluttered the hem of her skirt, picked up the wet paper and trembled, crying, beast. Our headphones heartbeat synchronization, brushed romance, all replaced with false music. What should I do in the competition? The voice was as soft as broken wires, and tears rolled down her face, dripping with salty paper, melting into black stains with ink. Qin Feng injured his knee and the gauze was bleeding. He hit the tree trunk with his drumstick and punched, shaking the leaves. His red eyes spit out fire and roared, bitch. I won't accept defeat at the knee. The secret of stolen music is exposed, and the music duel is bloody. His eyes widened and his pupils shrank, and he murmured like a nightmare, demo masterpiece, weeping blood is soft and embedded in the water waves, listening to the soul is flying and now destroyed. Su Nuan's mobile phone screen burst, she angrily stomped the mud and splashed her skirt, her lively voice was suppressed and sharp, the follower's iron wall picture is secretly changed, the whole school's hot search hashtag plagiarism real hammer hashtag, pure love CP is on the verge of death. But my recording evidence, fuck him tomorrow. The chubby bassist sat down with weak legs, his strings buzzing and wailing blood, the club is ruined, the three idiots who quit the group are laughing and waiting. The president pushed the frame of the mirror, his hands were shaking like a sieve, and whispered, dangers are everywhere, and the wisdom and planning are broken. Everyone's face was as gray as death, passers-by whispered and whispered in the distance of the stands, and the girls cried, the goddess is ruined by tears, and the introverted boy's knees are bleeding without hope. The boys punched the railing, the prince is invincible, the band is finished. The dark clouds of despair are overwhelming, the sparks of pure love are swaying, and the night wind hits the face like a knife scraping the bones. The next day at the inter-school music club competition, the sea of lights in the gymnasium was as dazzling as an incandescent furnace. The air was hot and sweaty, mixed with the bitterness of coffee and the oil of piano oil. The auditorium was filled with thousands of inter-school students. The crowds were whispering like a beehive, and cell phone flashes and will-o'-the-wisps flickered and screenshots were circulated. Hot searches on the giant screen are scrolling, hashtag school movement knee blood embrace hashtag ambiguous broken, hashtag music score plagiarism hashtag people on the edge of the music club. Jiang Chen, whose shoulders were as broad as an iron tower, sat in the front row. The pungent poisonous mist of rose perfume dispersed. He laughed loudly and drowned out the hum of the microphone test. The strong man with his iron arms snickered, the prince changed music. At the moment of exposure, the transfer student knelt down and licked the cuckold. The referee's whistle was sharp and piercing. It was the music club's turn to come on stage. Ye Zhi was pushed onto the stage with a knee injury wrapped in gauze and his legs were as soft as cotton quilts, holding the guitar with his fingers in his arms. The tip is bloodless and pale, and the dark tide in the heart is devouring, the fake score is exposed, everything is destroyed. Ye Zhi's eyes are stretched, is this the last hallucination? Ye Zhi's apricot eyes are watery after playing the piano, her jasmine fragrance is faintly scented, her skirt trembles and whispers, Ye Zhi, sync with the heartbeat, believe me. Qin Feng's knees are bleeding and the gauze is soaked, and he clenches his fists with blood, and Su Nuan's fingers are flying in preparation for recording exposure. The lights dimmed suddenly, and the spotlight was like a knife cutting through the center of the stage. The audience was silent for a moment, and then they burst into laughter. A plagiarism dog comes on stage. A waste of blood, a sequel to the goddess sympathy drama. Jiang Chen's sinister eyes glanced like hooks, and the poisonous fragrance of roses floated onto the stage to pungent his nostrils. Ye Zhi opened the sheet music folder and his heart skipped a beat, all the old works had been replaced with scrawled handwriting, the soft riff of the chorus was deleted, the water wave healing bridge was replaced by a dog-tailed one, and the mark, copied from XX band, was as ironclad as a knife. The audience was excited, real exposure. Prince God predicted that the orchestra should get out. The girl screamed and covered her eyes, it's so miserable, kneeling down with fake music, the bubble of pure love is shattered. The boy punched the seat and laughed, introverted cuckold, killed after tripping due to school luck. Ye Zhi's fingers were frozen on the keys, her almond-shaped eyes widened. Tears burst into tears, and he sobbed and trembled, it ruined our romantic demo, and there was no synchronicity between our thoughts. The president's frame fell to the ground and shattered, and he murmured that his legs were weak, it's over, the club is nothing. Qin Feng's throat rolled, and his red eyes spurted blood, and Su Nuan's phone almost slipped and fell into the avalanche of barrages. Desire is first suppressed to the end, the abyss of despair pulls at the heart of thousands of ants, Ye Zhi's self-esteem barrier is shattered into ashes, his knee pain is burning, his throat is hoarse and whispers, Ye Zhi, I'm sorry. But a glimmer of light flashes in his eyes, and the sweet milky sweetness of the shared earphones explodes in his mind, his heartbeats are pounding in sync, and he is crying and bleeding softly in a night row of retreat. His fingers unconsciously plucked the strings and buzzed to test them, and new riffs erupted in waves. He raised his head sharply, his pale face turning livid under the spotlight, and growled, "Improvisation. The real version of Headphones Heartbeat, proof of pure love." The whole place was dead silent, and Jiang Chen laughed like thunder. "Idiots are talking about dreams, useless players. Bad street guy." Ye Zhi closed his eyes and took a deep breath of the sultry sweaty odor, bloodshot fingers oozing out from the broken strings and weeping. The intro piano water waves were trembling and softly inserted by Ye Zhi. He improvised the guitar, the soft and bloody riff surged with layers of ripples, and the chorus heartbeat synchronized with the brushed romance bursting into the air. The sound wave sweeps across like a tsunami, the hallucination of toffee and jasmine hits the nose, the water waves in the healing section heal the dark tide of self-esteem, and the cascading climax of plucking the strings is like a heart pounding. Ye Zhi's eyes widened and the stars rekindled, her throat relaxed, and the lead singer poured out perfectly, the sound of heartbeats entangled with earphone cords, the sweet and silky dream of toffee. The introverted boy's eyes are deep, and the campus night is in sync with love. The pure and beautiful voice is like honey rain through the clouds, and the fragrance of jasmine spreads with the sound waves to be gentle and redeeming. Qin Feng's eyes were so wide open in the audience that he forgot about the pain in his knee and hit the ground with his drumstick and fist, soul flying. Improvised magical skills, weeping blood and soft heart, missing beats. He murmured in a trembling voice, "Brother, my trump card is invincible, I'm so excited." Su Nuan pressed the recording on her cell phone wildly, screaming lively and unable to hold back her sobs. "The demo is so soulful. The water waves embedded in the riff are so romantic." The chubby bassist fell to his knees with weak legs, and the strings were buzzing wildly. "Brother Ye is a genius." The club. Resurrection. The president picked up the frame, his pupils narrowed, and his hands trembled. Ingenuity is impromptu, creative sacrifice is unparalleled. The audience burst into tears, and the girl burst into tears and screamed, "Introverted magic bomb. The heartbeat of pure love heals my broken heart." The boy punched, his head froze and his eyes widened. Plagiarism. This riff's new soul will burst through the eardrums. Jiang Chen's face turned livid. The rose perfume had expired, and his follower, the strong man, had trembling arms and whispered intermittently, "Why, change the score to regain consciousness." The prince's face turned green. The climax of the sound wave cascades. Ye Chen's guitar solo bursts out with tears and softness, then turns to violent currents. The blood on the fingertip splashes and shines like a star shower, the blood from a knee injury drips down the leg, and the heartbreak turns to redemption. Ye Zhi stood up and sang the high-pitched voice that pierced the dome, her almond-shaped eyes locked on his silky tenderness. "On the day we shared headphones, we were in trouble, misunderstandings are broken, but pure love never dies." The whole audience screamed like a tsunami, the sea of light swayed and the mobile phones flashed like starbursts, and the referee's whistle blew and the gold medal hit the stage. The moment of championship, the music club won the championship and became an inter-school sensation. Qin Feng and Su Nuan teamed up to break into the channel, and Su Nuan's mobile phone projected stolen music recordings and replaced fake evidence to reveal improved evidence of Jiang Chen's followers. The shady story is exposed, the prince is a piece of shit. The dead silence in the audience turned to roaring, "Shameless. Apologize and get out." Jiang Chen's shoulder-width collapsed, and the smell of poisonous fragrance and sweat was mixed, and he knelt down on his knees with a pale face. His voice was trembling and low as a mosquito. "I was wrong. I apologize. Exit, don't chase me." The followers scurried away with their arms wrapped around the wall, and the crowd booed like a hail of knives. The trending search was #PureLoveDivineComedy #champion_reverse_kill. Ye Zhi burst into tears, her skirt flew into Ye Chen's arms, the jasmine honey rain covered the sweet toffee, her almond-shaped eyes looked at each other, and her heart beat with electric shock. Ye Chen. Impromptu genius, your tenderness saves pure love, thank you, my heartbeat will always be in sync. Her arms were tightly wrapped around his waist, sticky and tender, but the blood from her knee injury stained her skirt like a romantic mark. Ye Chen's throat rolled, and the dark tide of self-esteem disappeared. He put his fingers on her cheeks, the cold dewdrops on her cheeks, and murmured, Ye Zhi. I believe in you, from the day of the headphones. The moment they looked at each other, the campus heartbeat accelerated, the ambiguous feelings and self-esteem collided and melted, and the sparks of youth exploded into the galaxy. Qin Fenghao in the audience smiled and patted his shoulder, CP is locked. The divine song is praised by the whole school. Su Nuan poked her waist and screamed, full marks for hugs, hot search for pure love champion. The president pushed up the frame and his pupils flashed in admiration, the trump card is shocking, the club legend. The audience screamed endlessly, headphones heartbeat, is a masterpiece, the campus night will play forever. An avalanche of giant screen barrages, hashtag introvert genius, hashtag reversal is awesome, hashtag goddess embrace, hashtag heartbreaking scream. But the shadow of crisis returns like a ghost. There is a sudden rustle outside the music club's backyard window, and Jiang Chen's follower floats in with a sinister smile, Prince Ling, steal the music score. On the eve of the competition, the plagiarism of the section was exposed and escalated, and the orchestra exploded. The folder of the music score fell to the ground, the demo riff was written clearly, the wind and rain smashed the paper like a heartbreak warning, the campus night was thick and dangerous, and the spark of pure love was about to explode. Outside the gymnasium door, the night wind was like an ice blade scraping the bones, mixed with the stench of sweat and the aftertaste of piano oil, and the street light stretched the figures of the people and twisted them like ghosts. The snow-white corners of the envelope on Ye Zhi's mobile phone trembled at her fingertips. The instructions from the School of Art were carved like a knife, the transfer will take effect immediately, and the handover will be completed before leaving school. The water in her almond-shaped eyes was stagnant, and the scent of jasmine was faint after the rain. The blood marks on her skirt were sticky and warm, and the marks on her knees had not yet dried up. She turned around to stare at Ye Chen and murmured, Ye Chen, pure love has just been locked, and this separation is like a broken dream. The voice was soft and broken, and tears fell down her cheeks with a salty patter. Ye Chen's heart suddenly shrank, and the black tide of self-esteem surged back like a tsunami that swallowed up the joy of the championship. His pale face was twisted in the shadow of the light, and his fingertips unconsciously touched the cold guitar strap. Ye Zhi. I am an introverted loser, do I deserve to keep you? The loneliness of transferring to another school is a black hole, and now I can't even hand over a confession letter. The gauze of the knee injury was bleeding and painful, and the fire hook pulled, and the whispers of passers-by were as harsh as poisonous needles. The goddess is transferred, and the introverted genius green light continues. Just hugging the bubble. Qin Feng hit the railing with blood-heated knees and punched the railing with a loud bang, his red eyes widened and growled, dog transfer order. I practice courage to assist, CP is not allowed to break up. Su Nuan's fingers flew and the mobile phone barrage burst, her lively voice was suppressed and sharp, crisis is coming again. Detective Su Nuan, orchestrate the reversal of the campus festival. The next day, cherry blossom petals rained down on the campus paths and the soles of the shoes were slippery. The air in the cafe was filled with bitterness and the sweet smell of roasted sweet potatoes. Students whispered like a beehive, hashtag pure love divine comedy hashtag is the #1 hot search, the legend of the music club championship. But the goddess ordered hashtag separation crisis hashtag, and the introverted boy kneels down. Ye Chen sat alone on the bench, with the old headphone cord wrapped around his fingertips and the sweet hallucination of brushed toffee hit his nose. His mind exploded with the synchronized heartbeat of the day he shared. But his throat was hoarse and he said to himself, on the first day of transferring to another school, the introverted black wall blocks pure love. Jiang Chen knelt down to return the ghost, and the order was like a death blow. Qin Feng rushed in with a drumstick on his shoulder, His knee was injured and the gauze was stained with blood. He made a fist and hit his shoulder. "Brother! Is your inferiority complex coming back? I'll help you practice courage, rehearse bloody battles at the school festival, and hand-deliver a letter of confession to the whole school." He breathed fire with red eyes and dragged Ye Zhi into the music classroom. The door slammed open and the keys flew into the air. Su Nuan has pulled Ye Zhi to sit in front of the piano. She screams lively with the flash of handmade needlework, "Ye Zhi. Pure love is longing for confession." Su Nuan helps to prepare a gift, earphone pendant, toffee heart shape will always be in sync. Ye Zhi's almond-shaped eyes are reddish and the scent of jasmine is fragrant, and the hem of her skirt is trembling and whispering, "Nuan Nuan." The dream of art school, but the heartbeat of pure love. The day Ye Zhi shared headphones, misunderstandings broke down and self-esteem was harmonious. I longed for that brushed romance. The ripples of the water on the piano played with his fingers to heal the air, and his eyes drifted towards the door, brushed tenderly. Beads of sweat rolled down in the sweltering heat of the rehearsal room, the guitar hummed while trying out the strings and weeping intermittently. Ye Zhi's knees ached and he gritted his teeth while strumming the riffs. His mind shared the loneliness of transferring to school. On the first day in the classroom, the black tide swallowed up the corner, until the earphones tasted sweet, "You almond-eyed stars light up." The lead singer Ye Zhi pours out pure love like honey rain, the campus night is in sync with love, and the introverted boy hides his deep feelings. The voice penetrates the clouds and embeds in his guitar, the ambiguous electric shock rushes through the fingertips, and the heart beats faster and hits the chest. Qin Feng banged the drumstick wildly and shook the wall. His eyes were wide and trembling, and he shouted, "The soul is flying. CP rehearsal is sticky, and the courage to confess is invincible." Su Nuan poked her waist and laughed sharply, "All my worries are revealed, pure love is heating up. The campus festival explodes, Jiang, go away, Chen." They were dating and rehearsing for several days, the library was filled with books and ink mixed with jasmine toffee, and the sweaty and rusty night breeze was beside the basketball court. They sang, headphone heartbeat, side by side, their self-esteem collided and misunderstandings melted, and the sparks of youth exploded in the galaxy. A passerby girl whispered and screamed, "The goddess is an introverted CP," and the screen was shattered due to the ambiguity in the rehearsal. The boy's fist stiffened and his eyes widened, "A genius grows up, and his knees will bleed without retreating." On the eve of the campus festival, the playground's lanterns and ghostly flames flickered in the night sky, and the air-roasted corn was sweet and fragrant with popcorn oil. The crowds of people were buzzing with whispers, the music club booth divine song loop, the champion's residual heat #pure love hug #. Ye Zhi hid behind the club, the handmade table sawdust was flying and the smell of rust was pungent. His fingertips were bleeding, old earphone wires were woven into a heart-shaped pendant, and toffee beads were embedded in the brushed romantic wire. He murmured in his heart, "Ye Zhi's gift, proves that introversion is not useless, and retains pure love." Fist, brother, courage becomes steel, and Jiang Chen's shadow is wiped out. Su Nuan surrounded Ye Zhi and tried on the hidden pendant, her almond-shaped eyes shone with water and jasmine fragrance burst out, "Nuan Nuan, this handicraft is as warm as his heartbeat." The sea of lights at the festival was boiling, and the music club stalls were crowded with hundreds of people. Students, mobile phone flash screenshots buzzed, giant screen loop improvised riff, weeping blood, soft water waves, healing layers, girls burst into tears and screamed, "Healing black tide, divine music will play forever." Boys roared and punched the air, "Reversal champion, introvert is unparalleled." A sudden shadow shrouded Jiang Chen's shoulder width as he rushed to the stall. The poisonous mist of rose perfume dispersed and mixed with the smell of sweat. His face was ashen and he knelt down to apologize for the humiliation. His eyes flickered at Ye Zhi, "Ye Zhi. The prince regrets it, and the shady self-destruction and self-confidence are wiped out. But pure love bubbles, separate hammers, you and me, the basketball dream will never be broken." The follower Iron Wall whispered intermittently with trembling arms, the prince made the last kill, the goddess shook the green light and rekindled it. He threw the bouquet of roses and hit the ground with splashes of water, and the pungent poisonous fragrance spread. People Chow whispered loudly, the prince's revenge. How dare you kneel down, plagiarism is left behind. Ye Zhixing's eyes widened and the stars were cold, and she flicked her skirt to press the jasmine scent onto the roses. Her throat was hoarse and she shouted, Jiang Chen, the plot of stealing blood from the knees is completely shattered. Pure love's heartbeat synchronizes with Ye's. Chen, get out. Qin Feng's knee injury exploded, and he pointed his drumstick to the sky and yelled, you bitch. Apologize and leave the show, I'll smash you with my blood. Su Nuan's mobile phone projection flashed shady evidence, and he was lively and sharp, unable to suppress his anger. The picture was secretly changed to the recording and replayed, the whole school booed to death. Jiang Chen's self-confidence barrier exploded, his shoulders trembled slightly, and the poisonous scent of roses expired. His mind exploded with memories of school sports, tripping and ridicule, kneeling in the game, booing, and cuckold reversal in hot searches. His pupils shrank and his livid face was distorted like a ghost. Why did Prince Woody kneel down twice? The introverted loser improvised a magic trick. Ye Zhi hugged Sticky, the black hole of self-esteem swallowed me up. His knees were soft and slippery. Half a step later, her voice trembled and was as low as the chirping of mosquitoes. A passerby girl covered her mouth and screamed with her eyes wide open, the prince is defeated and despairing, his face is so green that it turns black. The boy punched the railing and laughed with his pupils exploding, it's completely ruined. Hot search #Prince Neelicking #sequel. The president pushed the frame of the mirror, his hands shook in admiration and pointed to the sky, the villain regrets, the music club legend is strengthened. The chubby bassist strings buzzed crazily. He knelt down happily and said, Jiang Dog is in disgrace, the club will always dominate. Jiang Chen's throat rolled with bloodshot eyes, and he knelt on the ground and slapped roses and crushed mud. The smell of sweat mixed with poison and the smell of defeat hit his nostrils. His pale face burst into tears and he roared and choked, Ye Chen, the genius has an unparalleled trump card, I am in despair. I wish you too pure love, the basketball prince will withdraw and never stand in the way. The follower. The rat holding its head against the iron wall scurried and slipped, its arms twitched and whispered, the prince collapsed into human form. It's over. The whole place turned into a dead silence and screamed like a tsunami, and the crowds of people worshipped, the introverted god kills in reverse. The pure love CP salutes, Jiang Chen regrets the dog. The mobile phones flash starburst giant screen barrage avalanche, #Prince blessings defeat #brilliant #campus sacrifice god CP #. Ye Chen's heart skipped a beat, his self-esteem was shattered, and his confidence exploded. He stepped forward to help Jiang Chen's shoulders, turning from iron to gentle, and whispered, the past is broken, and the path of pure love is open. Jiang Chen raised his head, his pupils were shattered, despair turned to admiration, and he murmured and trembled, thank you, genius. The exiting figure lengthened and shrank like a defeated dog, and the poisonous fragrance of the rose dissipated in the wind. Ye Zhibua embraced the sticky jasmine toffee, her almond-shaped eyes were locked and drawn, Ye Chen, handmade pendant. My heartbeat will stay forever. She tried on the earphones and the jewelry shimmered, and the sweet illusion hit her nose and healed her separation crisis. Qin Fenghao smiled and patted his shoulder with a thumping sound, full marks for your courage. The CP ceremony is locked up, and the confession letter blows up the dance party. Su Nuan poked her waist with bagua and screamed, Jiang Ku's blessings, the hot search for pure love is invincible. The president's frame flashed in admiration, the growth is shocking, the society the king of group festivals. The audience screamed and gathered around, handmade romance, the divine music boy worships. The passerby girl burst into tears and knelt down, self-esteem collides, the galaxy of youth. The boy roared and fisted in the air, inward growth, defeat the prince and bow. The aftertaste of the festival ripples in the sea of lanterns, the two of them walk alone on the trail, cherry blossom petals rain down on their shoes, they share the divine tune of the loop with their headphones, and their heartbeats thump and layer upon layer of ambiguity heats up. Ye Zhi leaned on her shoulder and whispered, "Pure love makes dreams come true. Do you believe that I will stay?" Ye Chen's throat felt hot, and the fingertips touched the dewdrops on her cheeks. Her inferiority complex surged firmly. "Ye Zhi, I have been writing my confession letter since I transferred to another school alone." On the eve of the graduation prom, the dormitory table lamp was dim and the ink was fragrant. Romantic, the tip of his pen trembled and the white letter paper poured out his thoughts. From that day on the earphones, the heartbeats have been synchronized and will never be separated. "Pure love, marry me." He hesitated, and the cold fingertips rubbed, the lingering shadow of self-esteem surged slightly. "Hand it out, in case of rejection." The night organ strings outside the window sounded, and the youthful heartbeat was about to explode to the final climax. The dim yellow halo of the desk lamp in the dormitory sheds light on the snow-white letter paper, and the rich fragrance of ink is like aged piano oil mixed with the sweet smell of cherry blossoms swept by the night wind. Ye Chen's cold and trembling fingertips rubbed the sealing tape, and the illusion of brushed toffee lingers on the tip of his nose. His mind exploded with a sea of boiling lanterns at the campus festival, Jiang Chen's desperate pupils kneeling in the mud, and the tide of passers-by screaming and worshipping, but the aftermath of the black tide of self-esteem resurfaced in his heart. Send this letter. What if Ye Zhi chooses the art school dream, and the bubble of pure love is shattered? The gauze on his knee injury pulled dull pain, and he murmured hoarsely, while the cicadas outside the window were intermittently chirping like a hesitating heartbeat. The avalanche of mobile phone barrages buzzed endlessly, hashtag pure love divine comedy hashtag loop, hashtag prince defeat blessing hashtag continue to be hot searches, and the message from the president of the music club flashed, genius. Graduation concert invitation, the club will always dominate. Qin Feng's voice boomed with enthusiasm. Roaring, dude. Perfect marks for courage training, prom confession blows up the whole school, CP lock is invincible. Ye Chen's throat surged with heat, he tore off the tape and folded the letter paper into his chest pocket, wrapped the old earphone cord around his fingers and drew it firmly, and the barrier of inferiority quietly loosened. Graduation season has quietly arrived. The cherry blossoms on the campus paths have faded and are replaced by green shade. The air is filled with the sweet smell of roasted sweet potatoes mixed with the ink of the library. The backs of students are elongated and the afternoon sun is golden. Whispers are buzzing like bees flapping their wings, introverted geniuses are worshipping the gods on campus, the goddess pendant is sticky and sweet hashtag pure love legend hashtag. Is the crisis of the separation of the art school? The dust on the keys of the music classroom has been swept away, the ripples of the piano heal the sultry air, Ye Zhi's almond-shaped eyes are red and the scent of jasmine is smelling, and the hem of her skirt is trembling. She plucked the strings with her fingertips and murmured, Ye Chen, the day we shared the headphones, the brushed romance lit up the dark tide, and the order was like a knife, but the heartbeat of pure love was sacrificed. Su Nuan gathered around the door, handmade needlework flashing and lively, smiling, Ye Zhi. Graduation version song creation, God Assists organized a campus concert, and the hot search hit hashtag headphone graduation hearts hashtag again. Qin Feng carried a drumstick on his shoulder and broke into his knees with a fist full of blood. He punched the door and shook it. His red eyes widened and he shouted, the soul is flying. The courage to practice is to keep the battery alive, CP rehearses to express love to each other, and the scene explodes before the dance. At the beginning of the rehearsal, sweat beads rolled down in the sultry air, and the guitar hummed while trying out the strings. It was soft with tears. Ye Chen's knees ached and he gritted his teeth while plucking the riffs. His mind was lonely when he transferred to school. On the first day, there were black holes in the corners, and the earphones were so sweet that your almond eyes were broken. Stars. Graduation doesn't matter. Lead singer Ye Zhi pours pure honey into the guitar, share your thoughts under the starry sky, pure love will always be inseparable. The ambiguous electric shock of the voice penetrates the clouds and runs through the fingertips, and the heart beats against the chest in sync with the drum. Qin Feng banged the drumstick wildly against the wall, his eyes widen and trembling, and he growled, "The stickiness is heating up. The mutual suggestion is perfect, my blood is boiling and I get goosebumps." Su Nuan's fingers were flying and her cell phone was recording, and her lively voice was sharp and suppressed with excitement. "I'm vomiting all my thoughts, the ambiguity breaks the screen." The long-awaited graduation concert has attracted a surge of admiration from the whole school. Rehearsing for days, the two of them sang the graduation remix, Headphone Heartbeat, side by side under the shadow of the library bookshelf, which was rich in ink and filled with jasmine toffee. Passers-by girls whispered and screamed, "Goddess is an introverted CP, rehearsing to electric shock the sticky god." The boy's fists stiffened and his pupils exploded, "Genius grows, knee blood riff heals the dark tide." In the cafe in the corner of the campus, the steaming bitter coffee is mixed with the sweetness of roasted sweet potatoes. Ye Zhi leans against the window and locks eyes with Ye Chen, drawing tenderness, "Working in progress, your pendant warms the heartbeat, the dream of art school is shattered and the pure love yearns for me. Will I trust you if I stay in school?" Ye Chen's throat is hoarse and he is pointing. The dewdrops on the back of her hand touched the current of electricity, and her low self-esteem suddenly surged. "Ye Zhi, from the day we shared it, misunderstandings and introversion have never been eliminated. Graduation concert locks pure love." The ambiguous air was sticky, her cheeks were red and jasmine exploded, and she murmured, "Heartbeat stay forever." Qin Feng broke into the table with a knee injury and smashed his fist on the table to shake the cup. "Practice your courage and listen. Assist in organizing the concert, and the music club booth upgrades to a giant screen loop." Su Nuan poked her waist and laughed shrilly, and the mobile phone projection rehearsal clip crashed. Ye Chen AI #preheated hot search, Jiang Chen is far away from the shadow. The president pushed the frame and shook his hands in admiration. "The growth is shocking, the graduation king of the club invites you with perfect score." The chubby bassist Xian Bing knelt down in ecstasy, remix of the divine song, "A Legend Forever." On the eve of the graduation concert, the playground's lanterns and ghostly flames flickered in the night sky, and popcorn was popping in the air. The crowds of people were buzzing with whispers, "The music club's graduation version loop is warming up, #headphone heartbeat remix #healing the galaxy." Ye Chen's backstage sawdust was flying on the handmade table, rust was pungent, and his fingertips were bleeding. Old earphone cords were braided with spare pendants, toffee beads embedded with romance. He murmured in his heart, "Zhi Yongzheng, fame and status are the fruits of pure love." Qin Feng's tour was full of blood and fire, brother. You guys are brave. The singing assists the dance confession, and the CP is invincible. Su Nuan surrounded Ye Zhi to try to sing the hidden verse, her almond-shaped eyes sparkling with sweetness. "Nuan Nuan, express love to each other, and the mood is sad but the heartbeat remains." The sea of lights is boiling, the music club's giant screen divine song riffs cascaded with tears and blood waves. Hundreds of students watched their mobile phones flashing and buzzing. The girls burst into tears and screamed, "Graduation healing, God CP will play forever." The boys roared and punched the air, reversal of the legend, introverted and unparalleled knees are bleeding. At the climax of the performance, Ye Zhi's piano waves poured out and the vocalist Miyu said, "We share our first encounter with headphones, and our heartbeats are synchronized with the starry sky. Pure love never leaves the graduation night." Ye Chen's guitar riffs shocked the audience with cascading waves, and the heartbeats were pounding at the culmination of ambiguity. He whispered hoarsely into the microphone, "Ye Zhi, you light up the introverted black tide, will you marry me for pure love?" There was a moment of deathly silence in the whole place, and a tsunami of screams arose, and the crowds of people worshipped, implicit confession. Pure love locks the god of death. Qin Feng's drumstick smashed into the sky with a loud bang, his red eyes widen and trembling, shouting, "Full marks for soul flying." Hot-blooded assists to explode. Su Nuan screamed and poked the air, and there was an avalanche of barrage live broadcast on the mobile phone, hashtag graduation mutual petition hashtag fresh blast hashtag headphones marry me hashtag. The president's frame flashed and his hands trembled in admiration. The club legend has been strengthened, the graduation king CP. A passerby girl covered her mouth with tears and knelt down with her eyes wide open, the pinnacle of ambiguity, the fusion of the youth galaxy. The boy punched the railing and his pupils exploded, genius trump card, knee injury romantically defeats the black hole. The aftermath ripples in the sea of lights, the two of them walk alone on the path with green shades and sticky shoes, they share the graduated version of the loop with headphones, their heartbeats thump and the ambiguity heats up forever. Ye Zhi leaned on his shoulder and Jasmine Toffee shocked her, whispering, Ye Chen, singing hints, adjusting the dream to choose pure love, do you believe in staying in school? Ye Chen's fingertips covered the dewdrops on his cheeks, his self-esteem was gray and his confidence exploded, Ye Zhi, the road of pure love is open. After returning home all night, the lamp in the dormitory was lit again and the fragrance of ink filled the air. The tip of his pen trembled and the white paper poured out, Dear Ye Zhi, in the corner of the first classroom of the transfer school that day, I turned into a black hole and swallowed the world, until your almond eyes are broken, the earphones share the sweet and tangy texture of toffee, the heartbeats are pulsing and cascading, misunderstandings are shattered and self-esteem is melting, the school sports song is bloody, the campus festival pendant is romantic. Pure love yearning, marry me after graduation, and we will never be separated. The ceiling tape is stuck tightly, the fingertips are warmly rubbed, the night wind strings outside the window are imaginative, the sense of achievement permeates the whole body like the residual heat of a championship, the reputation is hotly searched for, and the king of society, the fruit of pure love is held in the palm of the hand. On the night of the graduation prom, the light bulbs in the gymnasium were spinning in the night sky, the perfume in the air was sweet and stinky with sweat, and the popcorn was mixed with sweetness and sweat. The students' uniforms rustled against the rustling crowds, and the crowds were buzzing and whispering, the residual heat of hashtag pure love divine comedy hashtag graduation concert, rumors of confession letters from introverted geniuses. Campus sensation booking. Ye Chen's straight suit, chest pocket, letter paper bulging, the dull pain of his knee injury does not hinder his pace, his heart suddenly contracted, and the black tide of low self-esteem finally came to an end. Yuing, send, the eyes of the whole school, reject the green light. Qin Feng slapped his shoulder with a thud that shook his blood and roared, practice your courage to burst. Best friend assists, lock CP on the dance floor. Su Nuan surrounded Ye Zhi's jasmine dress and exploded, lively and shrill smile, Ye Zhi. The climax of pure love at the dance, the detective has a premonition of romance in the letter. Ye Zhi's apricot eyes locked on Ye Chen's drawing, and the pendant's pearls shone with sweet illusion, Ye Chen, his heartbeat is about to explode. The lights on the dance floor rippled, and the slow dance melody had the lingering aftertaste of piano oil. Ye Chen walked through the crowd and walked towards her, holding the letter with sweaty palms. Passers-by whispered, and the girl screamed, Genius holds the letter. Confession to God. The boy's fists stiffened and his pupils shrank, introverted growth, the peak of knee-blood romance. Qin Feng and Su Nuan's back was hot and sharp. The joint roar, explosion. Pure love is invincible. Ye Zhi stared with starry eyes, the scent of jasmine hit his nostrils and was sticky with electricity. His throat was rolling and hoarse, and he stretched out the snow-white envelope with his palm and handed it out with trembling, Ye Zhi, read it, and your heartbeat will always be in sync. The eyes of the whole audience gathered like a rain of knives, and there was a moment of dead silence. The heartbeat of the campus was about to explode. The light ball on the dance floor of the gymnasium shattered and the colorful light poured down like a star shower. The sweet perfume mixed with the smell of sweat and popcorn oil made the air sticky. The aftertaste of the slow dance piano oil was intermittently humming. The students' uniforms rustled and whispered like the eve of a storm. The eyes of the audience were like thousands of arrows gathering on the snow-white envelope. Ye Chen's palms were trembling and hanging in the air. Cold dewdrops on his fingertips rolled down the sleeves of his suit. His heart shrank sharply. The dark tide of inferiority surged again. Reject, the eyes of the whole school are like a rain of knives, and the foam of pure love shattered the campus festival lanterns and flew into ashes. The gauze of his knee injury was pulled by the fire hook, and his throat rolled and became hoarse. Whispering, a passerby girl covers her mouth and whispers, her eyes wide open and her pupils narrowed. The introverted genius holds the letter and delivers it in person. The goddess stares with almond-shaped eyes. What if the order is to separate the black hole? The boy stiffened his fists and roared suppressed, the peak of romance with blood on the knees, but the lingering shadow of low self-esteem, confession explosion or self-destruction. Qin Feng held a fist with blood on his back and punched the air. Red eyes widened and trembling, shouting, courage and steel. Best friend's trump card is invincible. Sister Ye reads the letter and locks the lock of pure love. Su Nuan surrounded the side and danced her mobile phone live broadcast. Her lively voice was sharp and suppressed the excitement. God. The envelope is ink-scented and romantic premonition. The avalanche of barrage #dance marry me is a hot search reservation. The president's frame flashed his hand. The admiration whispers, the king of society grows up, and the legend of graduation continues. The dead silence expands like a vacuum, the pounding of the heart beats Ye Chen's eardrums alone. Ye Zhi's almond-shaped eyes stare at the envelope, the fragrant jasmine smell hits her nostrils, and the electric shock causes the string to be sticky. Ye Zhi's fingertips touched the edge of the snow-white envelope, and the light ripples reflected the faint penetration of the ink. Her almond-shaped eyes were watery and drooping, and the jasmine burst mixed with the sweetness of sweat on the dance floor. The sound of slowly tearing off the tape was as crisp as the breaking of piano strings. The audience stopped breathing and whispered intermittently, read, all the pure love things. She showed when I opened the letter paper, the fragrance of ink hit my face like old piano oil mixed with the sweetness of cherry blossoms in the night breeze. My almond-shaped eyes scanned the writing and trembled and accelerated. Dear Ye Zhi, in the corner of the first classroom of the transfer school that day, I turned into a black hole and swallowed the world until your almond eyes were broken into stars. The earphones shared the sweetness of toffee, and my heart beat in sync. Overlapping layers. Her voice was murmuring intermittently, her cheeks flushed like the morning sun. She pinched the folds of the letter paper tightly with her fingertips, and dewdrops rolled down her skirt, causing the dark shadow of the crisis to reappear in her mind. The dream of art school is broken. Pure love yearning to stay in school. At the end of the letter, marry my pure love and never separate. The brushed ink is firm, hot tears welled up in her throat, and the pendant shimmered with pearls. Girls on the street screamed and covered their chests with their eyes wide open, goddess tears. The heartbeat in the letter is sticky, and the ambiguity is melting. The boy's pupils shrank, his fist hit the dress and he shouted, the fragrance of genius ink heals the dark tide, the low self-esteem, the hint of marrying me is explosive. The dead silence turned into a screaming tsunami, and the crowds of worshippers surged like a boiling sea of lights. Ye Zhi's apricot eyes lifted up and locked onto Ye Chen's silk thread with tenderness. The light and broken stars shocked her heart directly. Her skirt flew into his arms and the jasmine toffee burst into his sticky chest. Ye Chen, share the day when the black hole lights up, the knee-blood divine comedy campus festival pendant is romantic, marry me with pure love after graduation. I promise, my heartbeat will always be in sync. Never leave. The sound of pure honey rained down on the microphone, and the whole place erupted into screams. Qin Feng's drum hammer hit the ground and shook the ground, his red eyes widened and trembled, full score. Best friend's courage confession, CP locked invincible explosion. Su Nuan poked the air with a sharp smile, the mobile phone live broadcast barrage avalanche buzzed, and her fingers flew and projected letter paper ink enlarged. #dance pure love climax #Marimyong sync #hot search dominates the screen, God assists perfect girlfriends to hug. The president's frame fell off and his hands trembled and he knelt down to worship, the club's legendary god, graduation king CP Yongba invites a college tour. A passerby girl burst into tears, covered her mouth and screamed with her pupils exploding, the goddess is in her arms. The introverted genius reverses, the youthful galaxy heals and melts. The boy punched the railing and roared in the throat, knee injury is a romantic trump card, the fruit of pure love is unparalleled in the palm of your hand. The light ripples on the dance floor are accelerating and the rainbow is brushed. The slow dance piano oil is layered on top of the headphones heartbeat graduation remix. The loop air is faint. Ye Chen's arms are tightly wrapped around Ye Zhi's waist. Dewdrops are flowing through the fingertips. The inferiority barrier is flying. Confidence is bursting into his chest. He lowers his head and touches her hair with the tip of his nose. The jasmine is sweet and husky. Ye Zhi makes the black hole shatter, the dream of art school melts into pure love, stay in school or stay in the same city forever. Her reddish shoulder pendant with her almond-shaped eyes rubbed her chest warmly, murmuring the ambiguous apex of honey raining through the clouds, well, pure love longing wins over dreams, college continues to write and share a remix. The two had old headphones. Threads wrapped around fingertips, toffee illusion drawing, shared graduation version loop, heartbeats plopped and layered in sync, beads of sweat rolled down the sticky dress and rubbed against the sand, passers-by watched the flash of mobile phones buzzing, sticky embraces God. Hashtag headphone dance hashtag loop healing. Qin Feng and Su Nuan teamed up to push away the crowd and scream with passion. Escorting, Qin Feng injured his knee and hit his shoulder with a hot fist, full marks for your growth, buddy. From the black hole of transferring schools to the campus festival prince, the pure love is invincible and the blood roars. Su Nuan surrounded her best friend's dress and gossiped and laughed, full marks for Ye Zhi crimson. The handmade pendant has a romantic life, and the live broadcast has exceeded the avalanche of worship with thousands of barrages. The lingering heat of the sea of lanterns fills the air, the night wind blows through the green paths outside the gymnasium, and the broken petals of cherry blossoms stick to your shoes. The sweet and greasy fragrance of corn oil mixed with jasmine toffee lingers on the tip of your nose. The two of them are walking side by side, alone and sharing the graduation remix of Starry Sky through headphones, humming intermittently. Ye Chen's fingertips covered the dewdrops on the back of her hand and were drawn with electric shock. The arc of his inferiority and growth flashed back in his mind, the first day of transferring to another school, being lonely in a corner, meeting the almond-eyed star for the first time in the music club, the bloody gauze on the school sports knee dying red the riff of the Divine Comedy, Prince Jiang Chen kneeling in the mud and the rose shattering, the shady story was exposed. The whole school screamed in the giant screen loop of the graduation concert. Ye Zhi, the introverted loser has turned around, all thanks to your heartbeat. She leaned on her shoulder and smiled pure water ripples. Ye Chen, misunderstandings and self-esteem collide and melt, the power of pure love overcomes the crisis, and the future the University Music Club continues to dominate. The stars in the night sky are pouring out, the pearls are shining, and the romance is eternal. The lanterns in the playground in the distance are drawn, and the figures are elongated and whispering, the legendary god of pure love. The introverted genius goddess embraces, hashtag graduation rhyme hashtag is the hot search for eternal dominance. On the way back to the dormitory, the dim yellow light of the desk lamp sprinkled the snow-white sheets with the ink fragrance remaining. The blood stains from the gauze removed from Ye Chen's knee injury faded like metals. His fingertips fiddled with the toffee beads embedded in the heart-shaped pendant from the old earphone cord. The residual heat of the championship filled his body with a sense of accomplishment. The fruits of fame and status as the leader of the club were heavy in his palms. There was an avalanche of barrages on his mobile phone, hashtag dance pure love climax hashtag has been viewed over 100,000 times, and hashtag HFON marry me forever sync continues to be popular. The president of the music club's voice trembled with admiration, genius. Invited by the university branch, the tour remixed the divine song in a citywide loop. Qin Feng roared passionately in the middle of the night, brother. The courage to practice is full of growth arcs, the CP locks up the passion and endurance, and the university band is invincible. Su Nuan projected the dance hug scene and laughed loudly, God CP. Best friend assists with perfect points, Jiang Chen's shadow of defeat is not far away. Ye Chen's throat is filled with hot smiles, the black hole of self-esteem is sealed forever, and the path forward for pure love is galactic. The golden morning light of the graduation ceremony shines on the green shade of the playground, and the sweet fragrance of air-roasted sweet potatoes is mixed with the astringent aftertaste of the library. The students' robes rustle and whisper, the residual heat of the dance party of pure love, and the rumors of introverted genius staying in school. Ye Zhi's piano riffs are layered, and her almond-shaped eyes are locked. Ye Chen's gentle vocals lead the outro of the graduation version, heartbeats share under the starry sky, pure love never leaves the road of youth. All the teachers and students in the school flashed their mobile phones, the light buzzed and screamed in worship, and the girls knelt down in tears and stared wide-eyed, Goddess Honey Rain heals. CP will play the Milky Way forever. The boys punched the air and their pupils exploded, the genius guitar is bleeding, the knee injury is unparalleled romance. Qin Feng's drumstick banged violently on the podium and shouted with red eyes, hot-blooded God. Best friend helps to continue college. Su Nuan's live broadcast barrage collapsed with flying fingers, #graduation ceremony pure love #dominates the screen, and the crisis melts the God. At the end of the ceremony, the principal pushed up her frame and announced with trembling hands, Ye Zhi of the music club, recommended for special contribution to stay in school, linkage with the university music school. The whole audience screamed and the crowd boiled, Ye Chen felt inferior and was overwhelmed with confidence. Jiang Chen's figure shrinks in the distance, and his followers lower their heads and whisper in blessing, genius's trump card, pure love is invincible. At the end of the campus path, the wave of freshmen transferring to another school is faintly visible, the green shades are whirling, indicating the continuation of the chapter, the heartbeat of the earphone sharing loop is pounding, the youthful love song is unfinished, and the sparks of pure love are burning forever. A few months later, the sea of lights in the university concert hall was boiling, the air was filled with rich piano oil and sweet toffee, Ye Chen's guitar riffs shocked the audience with layers of electric shock, and the knee injury medal flashed with confidence, Ye Zhi. From the black hole on campus to the king of tours, the road of pure love is endless. Ye Zhi's lead singer, honey rain waves pouring into almond-eyed stars, the heartbeat will stay forever, marry me, continue to write. Qin Feng's drumstick smashed the soul and roared, Su Nuan's live barrage avalanche God assists, the audience screamed in admiration, legendary CP. Pure love for headphones forever. The night wind is involved in the romance of new headphone wires, the suspense of the future is looming, the collision of artistic dreams and love, the spark of new misunderstandings and self-esteem are waiting to be ignited, and the heartbeat of youth will never end. But the aftertaste of joy did not dissipate. Ye Zhi's cell phone buzzed and vibrated. She picked up the envelope with gloomy almond eyes. The paper of the transfer notice was white and dazzling, transfer from the School of Art, leave campus, are you separated? Jasmine trembled slightly, staring at Ye Chen with tears again. Ye Chen's heart tightened, his eyes were as firm as steel, and he whispered with determination, don't leave. I will write a letter of confession and hand it in by hand. The night wind blew into the hall, the lingering sound of the strings rippled, the crisis of pure love reappeared, and the heartbeat of youth was about to explode to a climax.